Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Southgate Planning Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 21st, and I call this meeting to order at 6:30. I ask Commissioner Ozeda to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Sure. Please stand and face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Castañeda,
Present.
Commissioner Zeta,
Present.
Commissioner Ruiz,
Present.
Vice Chairperson Valenzuela,
Present.
and Chairperson Prieto.
Present.
I, Javier Barraza, Special Projects Coordinator, certify that a true and correct copy of the foregoing meeting agenda was properly posted on July 16, 2026, 72 hours prior to the scheduled meeting as required by law.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 6, consent calendar. We don't have any items for consent calendar today, so I'll move right along to item number 7, which is public hearings. A, tentative track map number 84210 and major administrative modifications to PL number 26-0191 to allow the subdivision of 3 parcels into a 14-unit affordable residential condominium townhouse development located at 9001-9019 Long Beach Boulevard and consider a mitigated negative declaration in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. The applicant is Habitat to Humanity of Greater Los Angeles. Jacob, do we have a presentation today?
Yes. Yes, Chairman. So, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Joshua Valdez, Associate Planner for the City of Southgate. Tonight, I am here to present to you tentative track map number 24210 and PL number 26-091, a request for 4 major administrative modifications for the proposed 14-unit affordable townhomes at 9001 through 19 Long Beach Boulevard. Before we begin, there is a typo in attachment C, pages 6, 7, and 8, where the project information on the right-hand column is inaccurate. The applicant has been informed and the plans will be revised accordingly before continuing with their submittal. It has no impact on today's presentation. A quick overview of the project details. The project site is approximately 0.66 acres and is shown on the map delineated in black. The project consolidates 3 continuous parcels located at 9001, 9015, and 9019 Long Beach Boulevard for the development of 14 affordable townhomes. The parcels are located within the city's urban neighborhood zone with a general plan designation of Long Beach Corridor Sub-Area 2. The property is currently owned by the City of Southgate, and ownership will be transferred after entitlements and agreements are in place. The applicant is Habitat for Humanity. I currently don't see the applicant here, but hopefully they show up later in the evening. So the proposed project consists of 14 2- and 3-story attached townhomes in 4 buildings. The project itself is allowed by right with an administrative plan review per Southgate Municipal Code Section 22.090, Table 11.22-UN titled UN Development Standards, which will be discussed later on. However, to facilitate the development of the site, the applicant is requesting 3 entitlements, the first of which is a tentative track map number 84210 to allow the subdivision of 3 parcels into 14 townhomes. Subsequently, the applicant is requesting approval of PL 26-0190 for 4 administrative modifications, which include 1, to reduce the parking setback from 10 feet to 0 feet, 2, to reduce the building setback of Unit 10 from 10 feet to 5 feet. 3, to increase the perimeter fence from 3 feet to 3.5 feet. And 4, to increase the fence along the southwest corner of Long Beach Boulevard and Willow Place from 3 feet to 6 feet. In conjunction with the proposed development, the applicant is requesting that Planning Commission adopt the findings and mitigation measures from the initial study and mitigated negative declaration. Each of these entitlements will be elaborated on throughout the presentation. This is a screenshot of the zoning map. The project site is outlined in black and is zoned urban neighborhood as represented by the yellow coloring. North of the project site, the parcel is zoned Corridor 2 as represented by the light pink coloring and is currently being used as an inn. To the east and the south, the zone is that of the project site, urban neighborhood, as indicated by the yellow color. The area to the east is currently developed with transit lodging and a neighborhood market. To the south, the area is developed with commercial buildings that are currently unoccupied. To the west, the zone is neighborhood medium, as indicated by the brown coloring, which is currently being used by a mix of single-family and multifamily residential. Pursuant to Southgate Municipal Code Section 12.10.060, the tentative tract map shall be heard by the Planning Commission at a scheduled hearing, and action shall be taken regarding the tentative tract map. If approved by the Planning Commission, then a final map shall be prepared and forwarded to City Council for final review. Pursuant to Southgate Municipal Code Section 11.30.030, administrative modification requests that are deemed major or significant but are consistent with the intent of Title 11 of the Southgate Municipal Code are to be brought before the Planning Commission for review and action. The proposed administrative modification are consistent with the intent of Southgate Municipal Code 11, which promotes quality development, implements the general plan, and provides flexibility in applying development standards to facilitate orderly development while protecting public health, safety, and welfare. A detailed explanation of the finding can be found in the staff report. Ultimately, the proposed administrative modifications facilitate additional on-site parking, enhance residents' privacy and security, and accommodate site-specific constraints while maintaining compatibility with the surrounding development and advancing the intent of Southgate Municipal Code Title 11. These are the development standards for parcels located within the UN zone. The middle column lists the development standards, whereas the column on the far right reflects what the applicant is proposing. As shown, the proposed development is within the allowed density, but deviates from the required 10-foot interior property line setback for building placement and parking. As such, the applicant is requesting a relief of 10 feet for the parking location, bringing the requirement to 0, and 5 feet relief for building placement, bringing the requirement down to 5. Similarly, the frontage type of porch is encouraged to have 3 feet per the municipal code. And the applicant is requesting a half-foot increase for the entire perimeter, bringing the perimeter fence to 3.5 feet, and an additional 3 feet for the wall at the southwest corner of Long Beach Boulevard and Willow Place, bringing up the proposed perimeter wall to 6 feet at that intersection. This is a site plan of the project site. The tables on my left-hand side show that the project consists of 6 unit types, and the site plan shows the configuration of these units. The areas where the proposed administrative modifications being requested are highlighted and circled. The first is the uncovered parking on the south side, which is currently required to be 10 feet, but is shown at 0 feet to be consistent with the opposite west point and to allow for the appropriate turnout radius. The second is the building placement of unit 10, which is required to be at 10 feet, but is currently reflected to be at 5 feet to accommodate the required interior dimensions of a 2-car garage. The third request is for a 3.5-foot fence along the perimeter where the code only suggests 3 feet. And the fourth request is for a 6-foot wall at the southwest corner of Long Beach Boulevard and Willow Place. Here is the landscape plan showing the proposed fences at the top right. We will zoom in on them on the next slide. As indicated on the landscape plan, there is a 10-foot landscape buffer along the perimeter frontage of Willow Place and Long Beach Boulevard. I will note the project does consist of 4 buildings, but for the elevation portion of this PowerPoint, the buildings are separated into 3. So that's why I listed them as 3 buildings, but there are technically 4. These are the proposed fences, with the main frontage fence is a mix of concrete and horizontal slats at 3.5 feet, and the common area fence at a 6-foot block wall with a horizontal panel gate. You can also see the proposed landscaping in front of the proposed fence, creating that buffer that was discussed earlier. So here's the elevation and floor plan for unit type A. Here it is for unit type A2, unit type B. This is the elevation and first floor plan of unit type C and C1. And then here's the second and third floor for those units. Here are the elevations and floor plan for unit type D, which is the ADA accessible unit. So even though there are stairs, there's a lift as indicated right off the entrance porch. So these are the elevations, and then as previously mentioned, we're separating into 3 buildings. So for the first building placed along Willow, these would be the proposed elevations. These are the elevations for building 2. This is the building that will be placed along Long Beach Boulevard. And then these are the south elevations for that same building. And then these are the elevations for building 3. So you'll see the gap on the south elevation indicating the 2 buildings and as well as the north elevation, but for the purpose of this presentation, they're labeled as building 3. So this is an image of the project site currently as is off of Willow Place if you're facing south. Here's the intersection of Willow Place and Long Beach Boulevard facing the project site. This is across the street of Long Beach Boulevard facing west. This is a site image facing north. An on-site image of the existing structures which are slated to be demolished. And then another image off-site facing east. These are a few of the conditions of approval that staff believes will ensure that the site is adequately maintained and that each project component is reviewed by the appropriate entities. And a complete list of conditions of approval can be found in the resolution attachment A. So the city has prepared an initial study in IS and determined that the project may have significant effects on the environment, but by implementing the identified mitigation measures, the project's impact would be reduced to less than significant levels. Findings and mitigation measures are included in the MS and mitigated negative declaration, which are in the staff report as attachment D. We do also have our CEQA consultant here to answer any questions at the end of the presentation. With that said, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt the findings and mitigation measures found in the initial study and mitigated negative declaration and adopt resolution number 2026-07, approving tentative track map number 84210 and PL number 26-0191, a request for 4 major administrative modifications. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. Did you say the applicant is not here today?
We do have the designer here. Noah?
Do we want to bring Noah up? Does he want to add anything else to the presentation? Sorry, we couldn't hear.
Just real quick, the Habitat for Humanity affiliate of Greater Los Angeles is very excited to partner with the city of Southgate for 14 new affordable homes that we'll be bringing to the community. These homes are to be owner occupied, sold to qualifying low to moderate income families in the community, and will provide safe harbor and a path for building wealth at a time when affordable housing is in short supply and home ownership seems like an unattainable dream for so many members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Noah. Do we have anybody in the audience that would like to make a comment? Javier, do we have anyone on Zoom?
If anyone on Zoom wants to speak, you need to raise your hand. So Robert Montalvo raised his hand. So let me. Okay, Robert, you can start.
Am I coming in okay, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. It's always a great sign when the applicant doesn't show up. I've seen this quite often, and it's really a bad start to this. But my questions are, how much has this cost the city already? Because I know some CDBG funds were taken that were supposed to go to the park, and that would have benefited a lot of our youth programs for this. Looking through the packet, it's kind of unclear of how much more money the city is spending. And I agree, the city is a great partner. I mean, who wouldn't want to not have to spend money on almost 80% of the project and then reap the benefits of it afterwards? I'm looking at this and I'm just questioning, is it the right move for us? 14 units, it's depleting resources that we barely have right now. And I think you should really read, I think it's on page 11 or 12, where it kind of highlights, it talks about affordable housing. And is it really affordable with the household income in Southgate at around 74,000? And even the individual incomes are just hovering about 22,000. Like, is this really affordable to residents here? If you go to the past census financial numbers for income, it's only the top 80, was it 85? So 50% of residents currently could afford anything above market rate right now. So what does affordable housing mean? What's the definition to it? What are these townhomes going to cost residents? And again, please look at what it's costing the city, because it's already taking valuable money that we've had through the CDBG funds that the park is already suffering from right now. I've seen some things that should have went up that didn't go up because of the demolishment to make this project come through. Anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else on Zoom?
There's one more person ending at number 879 or 878. But if he wishes to talk, he needs to raise his hand. I think they're on the phone, and he didn't raise his hand.
Thank you. Do we have any emails or just the emails we received?
We have an email from Mr. Dominguez. He says the speaker questioned why the proposed townhome development would include only electric appliances and no gas appliances, expressing a preference for providing future residents with the option to use gas-powered appliances. The speaker requested an explanation for the decision to exclude gas appliances such as ovens and water heaters from the project. There's somebody named Mark that sent an email in, but he said he might be in the audience. Mark here? So once I read it, oh, sorry.
Before Javier reads that comment, I will caveat that the comment that was made was in relation to the project CEQA component, the mitigated negative declaration. So as part of that, as part of the public noticing for that aspect, the mitigated negative declaration and initial study were released to the public for a 30-day public commenting period. And the comment that Javier received was made after the commenting period has closed, so it would be up to commission if they would like to accept the comment and read it into the record.
Do we want to accept the comment?
I propose that we do. I am conflicted about why it wouldn't be accepted as part of this hearing.
Just to, keep in line with the state requirements for CEQA, where there's a certain comment period and there's intended to be a deadline or a cutoff so that all of the comments come in a fashion that the commission can consider it rather than at the 11th hour. But having said that, you're welcome to allow it if you want.
Yeah. Well, I guess it makes sense for it to be part of the CEQA declaration, but as part of this hearing.
Well, yeah, it's not, it won't affect what's been done for CEQA, but I think all of you have already received a copy of the letter that we're referring, and you've hopefully read it. But if you wish to read it in the record or just have what you've already received attached as part of the record since you've received it, that's fine too.
I propose that we do.
I second that, that we add it for the record. I mean, if we're viewing it, why not?
The commission will accept for the record.
So we summarized it with AI. And it says, the speaker expressed support for the proposed Habitat for Humanity project, but raised concerns regarding the adequacy of the cultural resources analysis, the Assembly Bill 52 tribal consultation process, and the consistency of the proposed mitigation measures with the California Environmental Quality Act and Public Resources Code. The speaker requested that the Planning Commission not certify the initial study mitigated negative declaration until the identified deficiencies and inconsistencies related to cultural and tribal cultural resource mitigation measures are addressed. John, the one from county, did you want to summarize that? Or do we just put it into the record?
We could put it into the record that we did receive a letter from the LA County Sanitation Districts. It's in response to the notice of intent for the project. And what it's talking about is just the ability to serve the project in terms of capacity. And they are the I guess, department that will be serving this if approved and developed.
It's the last
Thank
one
you.
in your packet.
Yes. Do you have any other emails?
That's it.
At this time, I'd like to open it up to my colleagues. Do you guys have any questions, concerns?
I'm just wondering if the applicant was intending on being here today?
The applicant is Noah. He spoke over there.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions related to the CEQA process. More specifically related to the on-site cleanup case that is also mentioned on the um, initial study, the mitigated negative declaration. I know that a caller talked about monies, public funds being reappropriated into this. As a Parks Commissioner and person who's participated at council meetings, I know that there's more behind why that was done, and the city felt like this was a way to make sure that the money was going to be spent because of the other projects' likelihood of taking too long. I don't know if you can get further into that, but irregardless, my question is related to the present contamination at the site, the voluntary cleanup case, and how that will affect the money that was spent from those funds I believe the money was for grading the site, right?
We do have our housing manager here, Ms. Averill. She may be able to speak more on any of the housing issues or the funding.
Good evening. My name is Carol Averill. I'm the housing manager. To answer your question and the question of the gentleman that asked about the CDBG funding, as you mentioned too, the CDBG funds were moved to do just the demolition of the structure that we have currently on that site. The structure has to be demolished in order for us to do the remediation. The remediation funding comes from DTSC, is an agency, a county agency, actually that receive funding from the state of California. So they are the ones that are paying for most of the remediation of the project. CDBG is just investing some money on the demolition of the structure. We did have to move some funds because, as you may know, CDBG funds have to be expended within a year. But in regards to the other projects for parks and recreation, even though we move money for the demolition, some of the funds have been invested also for this current fiscal year. There are other projects that for parks and recreation that are being funded with CDBG money. So it's not that we just move everything and left them without money for the projects. We invested more CDBG money.
And can you elaborate on what DTSC is funding? Are they brownfields site
Yes,
money?
it is a brownfield site. They are covering the remediation, the removal of the contaminated soil, and then they're going to remove that soil, bring new soil, and then they have to do the clearance of the site.
Got it. And based on that, I guess it's too early to tell whether any of these of the construction is going to remain the same. I don't know how, I didn't get a chance to read through to see how bad the contamination is. It looks like they're still going through the investigation process, trying to delineate how bad and how far the contamination goes, and depending on how much gets cleaned out, whether or not there's soil gas vapors present at the site, would determine the need for engineering controls on the building property. And I don't know if you guys have already planned to include that.
So we are going through a period of testing. They have to test the soil for a period of time. And then, like I said, part of the issue that we have is that we have to remove that structure, so then we can test that area as well. So we are continuing to do the testing for the area that is clear, but as soon as the structure is removed, we will be able to complete the testing.
Thank you for answering. I think
Sure.
that personally for me, that does give me relief. I personally feel like our city needs housing. There are so many people that, you know, haven't been able to move out and buy their own place. And I feel like this is, I've heard very good things about Habitat for Humanity in our city. I have neighbors who were able to purchase their houses through Habitat of Humanity. I don't know if you can speak to that, like how Habitat for Humanity helps people come into these homes.
Well, Habitat through Humanity supports programs which allow us to provide down payment assistance and then also provide extra funding for the mortgage. So essentially, buyers will have a traditional mortgage from a bank, which will cover what they could affordably pay towards a home derived from their income. And then also to compensate for the total value of the home. Habitat for Humanity's programs, which are sponsored by philanthropy, public funding, and other or Restore, allow the family opportunities to finance the entire value of their home through other mortgages.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the development of the property also include a lot of volunteer work?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I would hope and suggest that my colleagues look into this program. From my knowledge, I haven't been able to volunteer. I always wanted to, and I think it's a great program. As somebody who, like I said, makes a good living now, but didn't for a while, that was something, I was looking into. And I'm so happy that it exists for other people who, to give them a leg up, especially in this economy, especially in California, where it's so hard to purchase your own home. And hopefully, I'm hoping that some of our neighbors who grew up in this area could benefit from this. So I also want to thank the city for looking for diversified funding to make this happen, especially in a blighted corner like that with, that the kind of history it has. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a question for you, for our city staff. So yes, sorry. You referenced the CBDG funding. How much was allocated to the demolition of that facility?
For the demolition was 225,000.
Okay. And bless you. And I guess this is maybe for the overall staff. That first of all, there was a lot in the report when you look at all the attachments and the administrative modifications, and so I'm going to respect my colleagues here. I might ask a couple questions and open up the floor for the rest of you to ask. You might have the same questions I have. But one of the things that there, as always, right? You have folks that are excited about a project, and then you have a lot of neighbors that are eager and anxious about a project that's going to be built 100 feet away from their home. I'm curious to see if you can provide a little bit more background in regards to how this project came to life. I know it's been a few years that it's been in the works, a lot of stop and go, which we see with a lot of these types of projects. So curious to see if you can provide a little bit of background on, maybe the historical context of how we got to where we're at today.
Sure. So the projects were purchased with former redevelopment funding and successor agency funding. So currently, the Housing Authority owns the properties, and once the demolition is completed and we enter into the disposition development agreement, that property is going to be transferred to Habitat for Humanity. So because of how the funding was used to purchase this land, we are required to build affordable housing, whether it's for rental or for homeownership. So, so the idea was to collaborate with another agency. And Habitat for Humanity has a really good track record in regards to providing affordable housing to low-income families. And so in this case, the families that can benefit from this program will be families that are at 80% of the median income. And there is like a layer of funding that we have in regards to provide funding for whether it's the demolition, the construction, pre-development, and so on. And also, in addition to that, the city applied a couple of years ago for Cal Home funding, which is state funds to provide mortgage assistance. So those families that get selected to purchase these units will receive up to $200,000 for down payment assistance. So that's the way that, you know, we collaborate and we work with different funding sources, and then we can make the project or the units more affordable for low-income families.
That's really great information. Another question that's come up by residents is who is the city of Southgate technically own the property, or is it?
Is the housing authority of the city of Southgate that owns.
So the city of Southgate, right? And in regards to the transfer of the asset to, in this case, a nonprofit, is that like at market value, or how does all that determine?
Yes, the parcel was, we had to look at the price of the parcel, but we're going to request another appraisal before that's transferred, because we have to give a market rate value. So as we get closer to, you know, once the demolition is done and we get closer to completing the remediation, we can do another appraisal.
Thank you. Another question is in regards to, and these are all questions that are coming from residents. So this is not all just me, but I think it's important for residents to get their questions answered, and you
I
know,
agree.
what better than the people that actually live here, right, and make it happen. You guys are the drivers to our city, so thank you for your service.
Sure.
The other question that came up is in regards to, and I think maybe the individual that called in maybe alluded to it, is outside of the dedicated housing dollars for this project, are there any additional general funds that will be allocated to this project in order for these to come to life?
No general funds. We have federal funding and state funding dedicated to this project.
Perfect. And I guess this might be to the representative of Habitat for Humanity. I mean, I'm a big believer in, you know, a lot of the times we're up here, we're just visiting, this is your world, so some of the questions might be very basic, but it is important to kind of pose them so that the greater community gets a better understanding of that. One of the things that came up was the idea is the approach that Habitat for Humanity took in this project, right? Is there a reason why Habitat for Humanity didn't apply for like density bonuses or going down that path?
It's a great question. We certainly did, I think, apply for some throughout the process, at least to help with some of the city's parking standards. But I think that as far as density bonus in order to provide additional units on the site, is that?
Yeah,
question?
it just in general, because I know there's and once again, this is your world, but I think there's a certain restriction that's required in order for you to qualify for density bonuses. Like I said, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on that. And I think one thing is applying for it, and another thing is actually meeting the requirements. So it sounds like in this case, maybe the requirements weren't quite met, which is why you're following the current process in regards to the variance to the municipal code.
So there is a density section in the municipal code where you, when applicant would apply, we would apply that code section. However, density bonuses are typically used to increase the number of units being proposed on the parcel. So if I go, so I'll go back to the development table here where it refers to the development standards. And so this project didn't apply for a density bonus and the corresponding concessions because the proposed units of 14 is within the allowed density. So the first four white rows, you'll see requirements, minimum, maximum, maximum with bonus. So that's all in relation to density. So there is no minimum requirement for a unit per se, but the maximum would be 40 dwelling units per acre. I believe this parcel, well, no, this parcel is 0.66 acres. When you do the multiplication, you get about a little bit over 20 units. So the project proposal consists of 14 units, which is below the maximum allowed. So it's allowed by right with an administrative modification. Had the applicant wished to do more units than more than 20, we would go with the maximum with bonus, which is 85 dwelling units per acre. And then we would do the math to get those for them.
In regards to the density bonus, are there, at the state level, isn't there a requirement in regards to how much should be allocated to low-income households, moderate to low-income households?
Correct, there is.
Yeah.
And we also have those standards in our municipal code as well.
And does this project meet that criteria?
The project didn't apply for that, so I can't speak on that per se right now.
In regards to the units, there's 14 units, so are what, I think 10% low income?
100% of the units will be low income
Low-
at 80% AMI or below, yes.
Okay.
So we would qualify. We just didn't apply on this particular project.
And once again, this is your world. I'm just posing questions, right? So I appreciate that. I'll stop there and I'll refer my colleagues here. I have a few more questions, but
My question is, since it's a project in Southgate, will Habitat for Humanity prioritize Southgate residents?
I can answer that. Yes, they will prioritize, because we use federal funds, we can give any preference, but they will prioritize Southgate residents. And then it goes in Southgate and surrounding areas, and then the county of LA.
To follow up that question, will there be some sort of communication to the residents? Like what in, Spanish, English, just like what it's going to take? Because that can get very confusing,
Yes.
right?
So yes, there will be a notice for the public, whether in English and Spanish, letting them know that they're opening the application process. A lot of families, they have to gather all the information, their paperwork, their finances, look at their credit reports and so on. And that there are different requirements to qualify. And then those that get selected, can start participating on this sweat equity but yeah, we will notify the public.
And just for my sake, because I do think that I'm speaking on behalf, like maybe the residents that I know, is there any, like a sample of what, if someone would come in, if I come in or my mother comes in, what would she expect to have in hand? A retiree person living with a person that sustains them, like, can you
If I
walk me
could-
through that?
If I could break in, I would just say that per the municipal ordinances, the way this is set up, the city is required to approve the marketing plan that Habitat will be using to market these buildings to the public. So the city of Carroll and others in her department will pretty much not really be able to dictate how it's marketed, but they'll be working hand in hand on the marketing program.
Yeah, I'm only asking because like to the common person, a resident that is not knowledgeable of like all these things that we're hearing, it's one of those things where like samples are important, right? But I get what you're saying. Thank you.
And just to clarify, some of the funding sources do require that the developer provides a marketing program. And then with that document, they will be able to let us know what documentation they're going to require. And then at some point, we can send a notice, or Habitat will send a notice to residents to see if they want to apply for these units, and then they will provide a list of documentation that they will need in order to qualify.
Thank you.
have a quick question for staff. One of the questions I had was for community engagement. Just did the city do its due diligence and notify residents and businesses about the project?
Yes, we've actually sent 2 public notices. We sent one in June for the mitigated negative declaration, and then we sent another one 10 business days before this scheduled meeting, notifying the surrounding residents yet again that this meeting is taking place and that they could sign on via Zoom. So yes.
And just for clarification, are those notices also in Spanish?
No, but there is a portion at the bottom that says if they would like to speak to someone in Spanish about the project in Spanish, there's a number there. And that's in Spanish.
Thank you. I think my other questions were regarding affordability as well. So I think you've answered most of those questions. I think just for clarification, I just wanted to know what the mix was as far as units were concerned, square footage. But I think you answered what the median prices would be.
The income range would be 100% of the units will be 80% AMI or below.
So the breakdown would be on the left-hand side with the units. And so you'll see Unit A1, there's 4 of them, and then each square footage, each floor is broken down with the total, and then their private spaces are accordingly. This is also found in your staff report.
Thank you.
I have a question, a follow-up. Did Habitat for Humanity reach out directly to maybe their future neighbors there? Over the course of the last, 2 years? That this has been kind of in the works?
I'm not sure if there have been any conversations yet, but we always do make an effort to engage the neighbors with a substantial time prior to the start of any construction. So it's definitely going to be something. And I think that right now construction is still pending the remediation that's been discussed. So there is somewhat of a healthy timeline before construction is going to begin. So we would definitely have that time to engage the neighbors.
Thank you. I have a few more questions. In regards to the mitigated, this is maybe to staff, the mitigated negative declaration, can you speak a little about what impacts you've already identified? I mean, it was like over 100 pages that, that listed everything and everything. But can you maybe give a high level, what are their most pressing concerns based off of that study?
I'll go ahead and defer this to our CEQA consultant to speak on behalf of the report they provided.
Thank you. I figured you're here. You might as well get a question, right?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Christine Abraham. I'm with De Novo Planning Group, and I'm the city CEQA consultant on this. The mitigated negative declaration found that everything would be mitigated to below a level of significance, obviously. Most of the things that would be a general concern, like air quality, greenhouse gas, noise, and traffic, were all found to be less than significant without the need for any mitigation due to the size of the project and the current uses on the site and how it was set up. And also because of its scale and the modern construction technologies, there weren't any significant impacts related to that. The mitigation measures that were provided in the documentation were related to cultural resources, were related to paleontological resources in the geology section in case of an inadvertent archaeological or paleontological find, as well as tribal cultural resources mitigation measures. And of course, the mitigation measures related to the remediation of the sites in the hazards and hazardous materials section, which great detail goes into the remediation program that would be undertaken under oversight of the DTSC. There is a remedial action work plan, as well as requirements for further documentation related to the completion of proper remediation that would be required prior to any groundbreaking activities. So that was the extent of the mitigation in the project.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, there's no impacts from this project?
There are no significant impacts that can't be mitigated to below a level of significance. That's correct.
And if they do have to be mitigated, how often Are they addressed throughout the process? Who
Well-
reports that? Like, who's responsible for
So
that?
there's a mitigation monitoring reporting program, so that outlines who would be responsible for each aspect depending on each topic. So for example, for the cultural resources section, there's a protocol that's set out in case of an inadvertent discovery and it as required by state law. And same with so it's in case of discovery and it lays out a protocol. And that would be in conjunction with the project applicant and the city that lays out the requirements for that. Same with the tribal cultural resources mitigation measures, because those are also undertaken in good faith between the city and the tribes that had requested consultation. And the hazards and hazardous resources mitigation measures would be also undertaken by DTSC, the applicant, and the city in concert. So there is a protocol set forth in the mitigation monitoring program that describes how and when and how often that would need to be monitored and handled.
Do you
Thank you.
feel like the tribal archaeological concern brought up by the resident would be adequately mitigated? I don't know if the resident mentioned that this report failed to mention archaeological signs finds that were within, I think, 0.5 and 0.75 miles of the site. Is it typical to list those and make note or make note of that and keep that in mind for in case that there are any findings?
Yeah, there's definitely a cultural resources report was prepared and is included in the documentation as part of the record as an appendix to the document. And searches were undertaken, and whatever was found within those search radiuses, according to the standard practices of that cultural resources specialist, would be included in the record and included in that report. So I'm not specifically sure about which resources were or were not mentioned based on the letter that was received. But the report was complete and provided mitigation and provided the appropriate professional standard reporting.
And I don't know if you're aware, but at what point would a finding trigger a archaeologist to be present during excavation?
Well, I think there's like programs where if during the course of construction something is inadvertently discovered, then the mitigation measure calls for an archaeologist to be called in to take a look at what was found and make a determination based on that about the next steps, like work has to stop within a specific construction radius, and then they would have to make a determination based on that, and that's in the mitigation measure.
But not in this case where something was found 0.5 and 0.75 miles away.
The mitigation would be applicable to the project site itself. So yeah.
But not any nearby site. Got it.
No, because it wouldn't, the mitigation measures and the analysis related to the project specific impacts are within the project footprint. Things that could be occurring that could occur beyond the project footprint wouldn't be affected by any of the, soil removal that would occur on the site.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I'm almost done. In regards to the four major administrative modifications, what I've seen, and I was talking to some of my contacts that are planners at other cities, they brought up the idea that anytime a modification is brought forth, that there has to be some kind of justification. In this case, for example, the increase in height of the fence from 3 feet to 3.5 feet. What was the justification for that increase in height by the applicant? What steps did we take to come to this conclusion? And will this set a precedent for other development in our city?
So according to Southgate Municipal Code Section 11.30.030.b, the finding that's required is that the proposal is consistent with Title 11, so the entirety of the zoning code, and with the aim to promote the quality development, implement the general plan, and provide flexibility in the application of development standards while protecting the public health, safety, and welfare. So as we were going back and forth with the applicant about this project, The perimeter fence is being increased throughout by 1/2 foot, so 6 inches to provide additional privacy for the units, given that Long Beach Boulevard is a high transit corridor. So it's just an extra measure for protection for the residents. There's also 10 feet of landscape buffering provided, so there's bit of curve appeal per se, and you're not seeing just a fence. Additionally, the 6-foot fence is only being proposed in the common area. So that's where you would imagine, families would gather with their kids. And so they're proposing an additional 3 feet in height for privacy and protection. Once again, because that is a high transit corridor, but with in mind that there's another, again, 10 feet of landscaping to provide additional buffering between the street and the residents to enjoy that common open area. And so with that, that's staff providing flexibility in the municipal code, but not major deviations, that to allow this project to move forward and to provide that additional protection for the proposed residents.
Thank you,
And I'd
Joshua.
like to add to that under state law, Mr. Valdez has kind of mentioned this earlier, but we are obligated to allow for deviations or incentives for affordable housing projects, which this is 100% affordable. And the thing is that deviations and the concessions section is located in the density bonus. And as Mr. Valdez has mentioned, this project doesn't have, it's not proposing density bonus. The procedure in the density bonus section sort of implies that it has to go before the city council. So I guess the easiest course that we saw when we looked at this was to go through the administrative modification, which is another section of our code. It essentially achieves the same thing. They're getting the modifications or the deviations or incentives, the concessions through a separate part of the code. So even if we didn't use a section under state law, we would be obligated to give them some concessions for providing 100% affordable housing.
What's interesting there is that, the density bonus is often used as a trade, right? You're giving something to get something in return, right? And in this case, as you're giving concessions, I'm interested to see, outside of providing the affordable housing that we should be providing based off of the state mandate around providing more housing in our city, what other added benefit is being provided to the public?
Well, you are correct. And I guess that's why we kind of swayed away from the density bonus section, because they aren't providing any density bonus. We went to the administrative modification process. In terms of additional benefits, I think Mr. Valdez had mentioned that the reduced setback for the parking gets you, additional parking, on-site parking. The setback for the building over there, reducing the setback from 10 feet to 5 feet gets you additional parking for that. Otherwise, there'd be maybe a 1-car garage and a much smaller unit. The wall in the front along the streets would give you added protection and privacy for the residents. So the lower wall are more of like the private walls for the units. The 6-foot wall, which is at the very corner there, provides some protection, some privacy for the open space area right there at that very corner between those two buildings.
Thank you, John. Thank you, staff, for answering.
I just have one last question. Looking at the site map right now, have the emergency entrances been identified on here?
We did receive our fire department pre-approval from LA County Fire, and they did review the site plan for emergency access to the site. So I guess yes, to answer your question.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions?
One last final question to the applicant. Habitat for Humanity, clearly with this program, it's providing affordable housing, it's getting people into homes. What is the retention level of those buyers in regards to keeping their units or their homes? Given that one of the biggest opportunities is the financial literacy aspect of it, is like, what other tools are we providing folks that get into these units so that not only are they able to get into them, but they're actually able to sustain them, right? We know that, purchasing a home or any kind of unit is a journey, right? It's a long-term process. So I'm interested to hear a little bit more about the retention in regards to that?
I don't know the exact number. I do know our affiliate has been active for roughly 30 years. And it's typically about 30-year mortgages. So many of the families that entered the program when this affiliate started 30 years ago have already paid off their entire mortgage, including the added financing that Habitat provided. I think, but since then, homes have obviously gotten a lot more expensive. But I think that in general, it's very rare that we have occurrences where families are not able to continue with owning their home. But we do have a policy that at any time that the home in perpetuity needs to be sold to another low-income buyer. There's usually a 45-year covenant associated with that. So they are continuously in circulation for low-income buyers.
Thank you, Noah. And I'd add to Greg, I think to piggyback on what you were mentioning in regards to like the marketing, I know clearly this opportunity is coming into the city of Southgate, and clearly the city will market accordingly, but it would be great to just make sure that there is a targeted approach or marketing communication strategy to make sure that, our own local residents actually benefit from this, because we do have a lot of neighbors that, whether it's an added benefit to the greater community, will be directly impacted into, I think you might have mentioned, or somebody mentioned in regards to like even being able to transition into having your own home, right? Being your own property owner. Those folks that might be living down the street that would love to purchase a unit so they can be close to home or tend to their older parents. So I think it's an added benefit, but that'd be one thing that be my humble suggestion, to see how we can make sure we take a targeted approach to really focus on our residents here in Southgate.
Yeah, absolutely. We do always prioritize to the extent that we're able to the immediate community vicinity members, and it is always a major priority to us to make sure that people get a chance to purchase a home in a neighborhood that they feel close to.
Well, if I could add also, just really quick, I know that there were concerns brought up regarding the notices that were sent out. I think people were a little confused and on what the circle meant and all that. And I know council made suggestions on maybe be more clear on what the circle means around the map. And my own personal suggestion, because it's only in English, to maybe move that, if you have any questions for Spanish speakers, to maybe move it up so that people don't just see English and dump it out.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll take that feedback in. So yes, I do apologize for the first notice that went out. It was unclear. I did receive a number of calls in English and Spanish for clarification and visits to the counter. So the second notice was a little bit more clear. It highlighted the project site and delineated that these were the 3 parcels in question, not the parcels within that circle. So to the members of the public, I would do apologize for the inconvenience and confusion. Yes.
In closing, the applicant is proposing a 14-unit affordable condo townhome development. At this point, if there isn't any other questions or concerns, I'm prepared to take action, and I'd like to ask when my Are we okay?
I don't think you ever closed the public comment period. So if you would.
My name is Francisco Garcia. I am a resident of Southgate. My concern is the environmental studies. I know it was addressed, but if I read correctly, there are some high levels of lead that were detected. And if I heard correctly, additional studies are required when the buildings are demolished. My question is, who's going to pay for that? Because I know it could get pretty costly. And I understand that the state of California has certain programs that will reimburse, but what happens if they do not reimburse? Who's going to cover that fee? The developer, the city, the applicant? So those are my questions, my concerns. And I think my recommendation is more attention should be paid into the environmental studies of the site. I noticed very little attention was paid at this moment. And who's going to cover the expenses? Thank you.
Thank you. Can we answer that question?
Yes, I'll go ahead and defer to housing and CEQA consultant.
Thank you. So the lead-based and asbestos testing has been conducted. There is no asbestos in the structure that we're going to demolish. However, we found some lead, and that is going to be remediated before the demolition. And then after that, we're going to require from the contractor to provide clearance for the lead base. The contamination in the soil is totally different, but the lead base that was found in that structure will be remediated before it gets demolished.
I will also add the contaminated soil is being removed and replaced with clean soil.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, I would like to make the motion to approve this project with all the conditions set. And I guess the changes set for the pages you mentioned earlier.
I think there's 88. Is it 88 conditions? I believe.
Yeah, but then there were typos, right, that needed to be fixed as well.
There's 88 conditions of approval. The plan set included in attachment C. There's 3 pages that have the wrong information essentially for the property, but that's it.
Yeah, and so then the 3 conditions listed here on the agenda, including the adopting the negative declaration in compliance with CEQA.
I'm going to say I second that. The overwhelming need for housing in our communities is there. It's the place has been vacant. The need is there. So I second that motion to approve.
Thank you. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Castañeda,
Yes.
Commissioner Osaeta,
Yes.
Commissioner Ruiz,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Valenzuela,
Yes.
and Chairperson Prieto.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. At this time, we will move on to item B, conditional use permit, CUP number 26-06, PL number 25-0053 for Hops and Barley Alley House for an outdoor covered seating area, live entertainment, expanded alcohol sales, and other modifications and improvements located at 3905 Tweedy Boulevard, and consideration of a Class 3 categorical exemption under the California Environmental Quality Act. John, do we have a presentation?
Yes. Thank you, Chair Prieto. John Signal, Planning Manager for the City of Southgate. The item before you is for a conditional use permit number 26-06 and PL number 25-0053 for Hops and Barley Ale House at 3905 Tweedy Boulevard. The request is for a conditional use permit for a new permanent, the structure that's going to be built is approximately 1,988 square feet. It's an outdoor covered seating area, covered patio at an existing restaurant, Hops and Barley Ale House. The conditional use permit is required because they are expanding the dining area, which in turn is going to expand the area where they're able to serve alcohol. The business does have an existing alcohol license, type 47, under the ABC, Alcoholic Beverage Control. And they are proposing outdoor patio, which includes televisions and speakers on the outside. According to the applicant, there is live entertainment will be occurring inside the restaurant buildings and not outdoors. There is a live entertainment permit that is subject to review and approval by the City Council. That's a separate review and at a different time. But again, according to the applicant, in the outdoor patio area, that only includes televisions and speakers. All live entertainment will be done indoors. The reason why this has come before you is during the COVID era, the temporary patio structure was constructed so that people can eat outdoors. Now that we're outside of that era, there is a code enforcement citation in there. And so the applicant has applied for this conditional use permit to build a permanent canopy or permanent outdoor seating area. The project also includes some upgraded trash enclosure, some landscaping, and other improvements. The recommendation by staff is to find the project categorically exempt from CEQA under section 15303 of the CEQA guidelines, class 3, and adopt resolution number 2026-10. A, there's an A and B there, but A is for approving the conditional use permit number 26-06 and PL number 25-0053 with conditions. And that's important. I'll get to that a little bit later, but there are conditions in there for that approval. Those conditions require the improved architectural design for that outdoor canopy. So some project details. Again, the project is located on Tweedy Boulevard at 3905 Tweedy Boulevard. The owner is Catherine Vasquez. Applicant is Fernando Sandoval. The project site is within the Tweedy Boulevard specific plan. It's zone Tweedy Mixed Use 1. It's in the active retail frontage district, and the size of the site is about 9,000 square feet, roughly 0.22 acres. The project site shown on this map there in the center, in the blue, the very northeast corner of San Juan Avenue and Tweedy Boulevard. It's surrounded by commercial uses along Tweedy Boulevard. There's a CVS Anchor shopping center, which is directly across Tweedy Boulevard to the south or southwest. And there are residential uses located to the north along San Juan Avenue, separated from the site by a public alley and a city-owned parking lot. And so the subject site there is in blue. There's an alley in the very back. You see the public parking lot there that's owned by the city. And then you have residences in the back along San Juan Avenue. And along Tweedy Boulevard, you have commercial uses, and that's CVS Anchored Shopping Center at this location. This map shows the zoning and specific plan context. Again, the site is zoned Tweedy Mixed Use 1, and that's shown in the pink, the light pink area in the middle there. In 2019, the city adopted the Tweedy Boulevard specific plan and rezoned the corridor from restricted commercial or C2. The site lies within the Tweedy Boulevard specific plan's active retail frontage corridor, which is the corridor between Elizabeth Avenue all the way to Bowman Avenue. And it's intended to encourage pedestrian activity on Tweedy Boulevard. The surrounding zones to the north include TMU2 and NM, Neighborhood Medium. And then again, there's parking and residences to the north of the subject site, north of that alley. To the east and south, you have properties zone TMU2, which have commercial uses. And to the west, you have TMU1, shown in the darker red or pink or color there on the west side of San Juan Avenue. So some history and background on this site. There is an existing one-story building. It's approximately 4,000 square feet. It was constructed in 1964. There's been improvements to the site, including one, which was an addition of 1,200 square feet, completed around 1995, bringing that total to around 4,000 square feet. The building was operated as a Denny's restaurant prior to the current owner or current business there, which was around 2013. And in 2013, Hops and Barley Ale House operated the site, and its business license remains active today. The on-site parking lot originally provided 8 spaces, including 1 accessory space prior to the installation of the temporary patio structure. And then once that patio structure was erected during the COVID areas, you were basically left with 1 space there. In terms of the existing violations for the temporary patio structure, that was installed again during the COVID pandemic era in the rear parking lot, and it remains in place today. The structure occupies or blocks maneuvering for about 7 of the site's 8 parking spaces. It was built without the required building and zoning approvals, and that's why it's a code enforcement issue, and code enforcement has gone out there to cite the owner. There's non-compliant electrical wiring, some decorative holiday lighting, chain link fence that do not meet current code standards. The application proposes a new permanent code-compliant covered seating structure to resolve the violations. In terms of the alcohol sales, again, they do have a Type 47 ABC license. That was issued by the California Department of Alcohol Beverage License in 2013 when they took over the site from the Denny's restaurant. Since they're expanding the physical service area onto the new patio that requires both this conditional use permit for the city and separate premises expansion requests from ABC. There are conditions of approval that have been included that require alcohol sales to cease no later than 1 hour prior to closing, as well as other conditions of approvals. In terms of the live entertainment and hours of operation, again, the live entertainment does require a conditional use permit and is subject to review by the city council at a later date. So it's not part of this approval, it's subject to city council review. Per the applicant, the indoor live entertainment, which includes some bands, music, and karaoke, and sporting events, typically occur on the weekends after 9 o'clock to closing. And the outdoor patio will include televisions and speakers, no live entertainment. You will have people out there, so there'll be conversations in terms of generating noise. The hours of operation, according to their website, are listed there on the to the right. Mondays and Wednesdays, 5 to 11. Thursdays and Saturdays, 5 to 1, and then Sundays, 12 to 11. And I believe they actually do have special events that actually go past that, according to some of their advertisements we've seen. The hours of operations are expected to remain the same with the construction of the outdoor covered seating area. So these are some of the advertisements we've seen from their website that they have. They're providing live entertainment, some karaoke, special events, season openers, sporting events. And for the most part, they comply. We notice that there are times, though, that some of their advertisements show that they actually go past that 1 o'clock date time. Currently, there is no conditional use permit on here, and the conditional use permit we have before you requires them to cease the selling of alcohol 1 hour prior to closing. But again, this live entertainment is something that will be considered by the city council. In terms of the environmental analysis under the California Environmental Quality Act, project does qualify for an exemption under section 15303, class 3, new construction or conversion of small structures. The site is already developed with the restaurant, and there are urban uses surrounding the project site. No sensitive habitats or protected species around the area, and staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt the CEQA exemption finding as part of its action on the conditional use permit. There are certain findings required for the conditional use permit. CUP is required under the Tweedy Boulevard Specific Plan, Table 4-2 for the alcohol sales. No residential, there is an exemption to do that separate from our zoning code. And again, the CUP is required for live entertainment and subject to review by the city council. The required findings are shown there on the right, and those are included in the proposed resolution. That's part of the staff report. In terms of the development standards, it does meet all the requirements. It's a 1-story building. The canopy is about 12 feet high, 8 inches. They meet the maximum, or they're under the maximum floor area ratio. Existing building will remain unchanged. They are providing some landscaping, 4 feet of landscaping along the San Juan Avenue. And there's no change to the interior property line. The trash enclosure is being modified somewhat, but located pretty much in the same area. The setback for the alley, 3 feet is required, and they're proposing 11 feet. A noise study was prepared. that includes the methodology and findings. We did receive the noise study not too long ago, actually, so we didn't have a lot of time before the agenda went out, but we did take a look at it. One of the things we noticed, though, is that it does only consider noise from the canopy and not the live entertainment that's going to be occurring indoors. There was a study there, a 2-day study for ambient baseline to predict the noise being generated in that patio area. They looked at 4 of the nearest residential receptors around the restaurant. The predicted patio noise level is relatively low, 20 decibels, 20 to 31 decibels at those receptors, at those residential areas. The city's standard is 50 decibels for the daytime, and nighttime being 40 decibels. So they are under the requirements that the city has for noise. And the predicted level is also below the existing ambient noise level. That's the noise that's currently in place now. That's resulting from vehicle traffic, any aircraft or pedestrian activity. In terms of the nearest residences, they are approximately 130 to 155 feet from the proposed patio located to the north across that parking lot and across the alley as well. In terms of the noise study, there were some noise mitigation there, even though they're saying that's no impact. They did have recommendations there in order to dampen the noise. Those conditions or recommendations have been included as conditions of approval in the resolution. It includes an acoustical sound blanket and other requirements there that can help dampen the noise to the residences to the north. One thing regarding the parking, I mentioned that without that canopy, looking at aerial maps, there's 8 existing on-site spaces. And with that canopy there's only currently 1 usable space due to the existing temporary canopy. The proposed project modifies that area, and it provides 5 new on-site parking spaces accessible from the alley. Under the municipal code, if you apply it the way it's written, you would be required to have 20 spaces for the additional roughly 1,900 square feet, 2,000 square feet of dining area. There's a 1 per 100 square foot requirement in their code. Existing restaurant parking would be considered grandfathered in, so no additional parking for the restaurant building, just for that canopy area alone. The specific plan emphasizes a shared or parked once parking strategy for Tweedy Mile corridor rather than a per use parking minimums. And there is a parking lot directly to the north of the subject site and one across the street, across the street from San Carlos Avenue. The one to the north has about 43 spaces, and the one to the San Juan Avenue on the west has approximately 20 spaces. And there's also another lot approximately 550 feet west on San Carlos Avenue. So there is public parking spaces in the general area. In terms of design review for the patio material finishes, the applicant has submitted several design iterations over the course of the processing this application. We found that the earlier iterations reflected a higher level of architectural quality and that uses more durable materials and finishes. The current design, the most recent submittal, sort of scales back the elements in favor of a lower cost wrought iron fencing and corrugated metal roofing. There's wrought iron fencing that provides little screening for the required sound blankets, which are visual, which are, can be seen from the alley and from the street. We find that the corrugated metal is not very high in terms of standards or quality, and they may possibly rust over time. Staff recommendation is that given that the structure may be there for 40 plus years or more for this lifespan, we would like to see the applicant hold to a higher standard as shown in previous iterations of the canopy. So we drafted a condition. It's included as condition number 16 in the resolution. It reads, prior to building plan check submittal, the applicant shall submit revised architectural plans using enhanced quality materials and finishes for the covered patio enclosure in lieu of the wrought iron fencing and corrugated metal roofing currently shown. subject to the review and approval by the community development director. And so I'll show you examples of what they had, what they're proposing and what they had proposed before previously. These are just some renderings of the inside of that covered patio area. The one in the staff report showed the sound blankets, and it kind of showed it being more of an interior space where it almost appears to be walls. This is more of an opening, and you can see the wrought iron there. They also look like they're proposing vines along the wrought iron. There is along San Juan a 4-foot landscaping strip there. So there will be some landscaping along San Juan behind that fence. Along the northern end, facing the parking lot, though, there is no landscaping there. But again, this is just an artist, rendering of what it could look like, showing that steel frame canopy, pendant string lighting, and the open dining layout adjacent to the existing building. So just to note, these renderings are conceptual, and also that the ones shown in the agenda bill show sound blankets, which create more of that wall or solid looking feature. So another rendering there, applicant is looking to also possibly have some television screens and speakers to support viewing on the patio. They indicated, again, no live entertainment will occur in these areas. Interior illuminated signage may be provided in there, and other lighting and finishes also in that canopy area. This shows a proposed site plan. What they're proposing is that area back here. Just to give you a little bit of fix of what this is, Tweedy Boulevard is located to the south, the bottom part of that photo. Then you have San Juan. So this is the northeast corner of Tweedy and San Juan. The existing restaurant building is located there at the corner. And behind that, you have the proposed canopy area that they have for outdoor seating. Roughly 1,900 square feet, almost 2,000 square feet of seating area, being able to have about 76 people occupancy. There'll be a new ADA compliant restroom, updated trash enclosure, which is the very northeast corner there, which is going to be facing the alley. There'll be 5 new on-site parking stalls located in the back of the property, adjacent to the alley, accessible from the alley, including 1 handicap space. The existing unused driveway on San Juan Avenue will be closed. That's located right over here. There's an existing driveway entrance. Sorry, I lost my mouse, but it's on San Juan Avenue. Here it is, right over here, this area right over here. And there's existing landscaping and street trees that will remain, which will be shown better actually right over here in the landscape. So they have this landscaping along the building already, and they're looking to extend that landscaping with pretty much the same type of landscaping, which is 4 feet wide along the west side of that proposed canopy. These are some building elevations for what's being proposed, the canopy. The very top there shows the west elevation as seen from San Juan Avenue. The north elevation down below is seen from the parking lot and the alley. And these are some sections of what they're showing. This one kind of goes north-south, very top one. And the bottom one is like when you're inside the canopy area, you're kind of like looking at the parking lot. You have this canopy area there and part of the building on that east side. So again, this wrought iron is what they're proposing along with the corrugated metal for the roofing. So this is the renderings for what's being proposed. The left shows a view looking southeast from San Juan Avenue, and the right rendering shows a view looking northeast from San Juan. Again, it's wrought iron fencing with a covered canopy, corrugated metal, supported by posts. This one shows the sound blankets shown there. And this over here, again, you have the current proposal on the left there. The previous proposal that we saw before, we felt was of higher quality. It had a lot more sturdier materials, a nicer look. It didn't look as plain as what you have on the left over there, where you have the wrought iron and the corrugated metal. It's a lot more decorative and higher standard. They will need requirements for the signs, but this is just an example of what it could look like with the previous iteration. Again, we did have that draft condition in there that if the Planning Commission did look to approve this one, we would encourage you to approve it with the previous design. We've included conditions of approval in the draft resolution. There's alcohol sale conditions in there that we've included that are pretty standard. We've included the noise attenuation conditions that were included in the noise study. There's that condition requiring a higher architectural design as in previous iterations. And we sent the conditions over to the police department, building and safety, code enforcement to review, and also public works. And those are all included in the resolution. And a note there that the live entertainment is subject to city council review and approval. So our recommendation is that we recommend that the Planning Commission find the project category exempt from CEQA under guidelines section 15303, class 3, and adopt resolution number 2026-10A, approving the proposed conditional use permit number 26-06 and PL number 25-0053 with conditions, including that the condition requiring the improved architectural design for the outdoor canopy. And that is our recommendation. That's included in option A for approval. We did have an option B in there for disapproval in case the Planning Commission decided that the design of that wasn't, of high quality enough. So 2 resolutions in there, but we are recommending again that you approve with conditions. So that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, John. And I do believe the applicant is here today. Would the applicant like to come up and add anything else to the presentation?
Good evening. My name is Sergio Vasquez, one of the owners of the restaurant and the property. I'm here with my sister Catherine and one of the architects, Fernando. I don't know what questions you would like to ask, or?
Is there anything else you would like to add to the presentation?
Well, just to clarify a few things based on the presentation by Mr. Signo, the one of which is that he says that the canopy has remained along with the fence that we had, and it was approved by the city during the COVID era. When we received the notice that the era was over and that we had to remove that, that's when we immediately started the application for the approval. And it's been dragging on. It's been very tedious, back and forth. But at no point have we, done anything to try to do something in violation, which is the current situation right now. Other than that, the image that was shown in terms of the sound blankets, which I believe the city or the planning division was questioning whether that would be aesthetic, would make the building look nice. You got to remember that those would only be coming down either during weather, if it's cold, if it's too windy, and obviously at night for security, so that nobody would be, invading that area, that parking space or the patio area that we have. So during the day when we open for business and the patio is then obviously open for customers, those would rise and it would look as an open air patio, obviously with the cover to protect for the sun and protect for rain and inclement weather. That's it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Vasquez. I just want to add that we have plans to be in it for the long run. We initially we started with the previous model of the patio, but some things came up, and so we've had the idea that we're going to move in stages, and we want to get to that beautiful patio that we initially drew up, or they drew up for us. We want to get there. That's our idea. That's where we're trying to go. At the current moment, this is what we can do to continue to provide outdoor seating and dining for our customers. Our customers really appreciate it. We are, we're open to families, and we would really like to be considered so that we can continue providing outdoor dining for our customers.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Fernando Sandoval. I'm the project manager for this. And I think we worded it quite nicely there. Nothing else to add other than we hope that we do get your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I will go ahead and open it up to the audience. Are there any members in the audience that would like to come up and make a comment?
Before we do that, though, if I could just ask the applicant, because our recommendation is really that we go back to one of the previous iterations in there. Is that acceptable? Because there is a condition in there that if approved, that, again, we go back to one of the previous designs.
Yeah, we would ask condition 16 to be removed. I understand it's for, the first design was very attractive, but because of the cost involved, we decided to scale it back. One thing that maybe you are not aware of is that last November, we actually purchased the property from the previous property owner, and that made us put in all our money, all our funds, all our savings to be able to buy that property, of which some of those funds were going to be available for the construction of this nice patio. But once that came into being, we figured this is not going to happen, and we're not going to be able to do it without those funds. So we decided to scale it back so that we would afford it. And then along the line, down the line, we would be able to then, come back to the city and say, now we're going to replace this, a few things to make it look much nicer. And like my sister said, we're not in it just to, buy the property and maybe get out of there. We decided to buy it because we want to be there for a very long time and be part of the community. So at that point, we decided that the only way possible to afford the new construction would be to scale it back, and then down the road be able to afford something better.
Voy a hablar en español. Me llamo Abel Maldonado. Vivo enfrente de este
¿Sí le puede
restaurante.
dar un momento a ella para que pueda traducir? Yes.
Mi nombre es Abel Maldonado. Vivo enfrente de este restaurante, supuestamente restaurant bar. Hemos tenido varios problemas con este restaurante.
Espera un momento. We can't hear. No.
Do we allow for extra time, Craig, when they're translating?
Normally, you've doubled the time for translation because the speaker has to stop and we have to hear the translation and the speaker has to start.
So 6 minutes?
Yes.
Estoy lista.
Sí, me llamo Abel Maldonado.
Me
Soy
llamo
residente de
Abel
allí.
Maldonado.
Soy residente ahí de Southgate. de aquí de
citizen de la
Southgate,
ciudad de South.
en San
I'm
Juan
resident of the city of
Avenue.
Southgate, San Juan Avenue.
Hemos tenido muchos problemas con este
We've had
restaurante
a
desde
lot
que
of
se abrió.
problems with this restaurant that has opened.
Se le dio oportunidad y
We
la
have
primera
given them an
junta no vine,
opportunities,
pero mi hermano vino.
but my brother came.
Se le dijo a estos restaurantes, a los dueños,
We told the owners of this restaurant
que el ruido tenía que estar dentro de su restaurante. No lo hacen.
that the noises had to be inside the restaurant. They don't do that.
Se tiene que dar la policía para que los vengan a
We have to
callar.
call the police to tone them down or tell them to be silent.
Ahora que
Now-
tienen esta supuesto canopy afuera,
Now that they have this tent outside,
es más ruido. Ahora que
It's more
quieren
noise.
expander,
now that they want to expand,
será más ruido.
it will be more noise,
Demasiado tráfico.
a lot of traffic.
Se orinan en los parking públicos.
They urinate in the
Se les
public parking.
reclama.
We do our complaints
Se les reclama a los que salen de allí que no se
to
anden
the people that
orinando.
come out of there to not be urinating outside.
Se quieren pelear con uno. No
They-
se puede así.
They want to fight and we can't do it.
¿No han visto cuántas llamadas se les ha llamado a la policía para que los vengan a callar?
We've made multiple calls to the police to make them to quiet down.
En cambio, este parking es para parking, para carros, no para construcción.
The parking lot is
Ustedes bien
for
saben,
parking, not for construction.
ustedes bien saben que es
You
eso.
guys know this very well.
Cada restaurante tiene que tener ciertas cantidades de carros.
Each restaurant should have a certain amount of vehicles.
Se está usando mucho la cantidad de sus clientes en el parking público. Hay veces que
A lot of their clients are using the parking spaces.
a veces vienen nuestros familiares,
Sometimes their family members come.
a veces vienen nuestros familiares y no hay parking.
Sometimes their family comes and there's no parking spaces.
Se ha aumentado que se salen a veces peleándose.
There has been an increase in fights.
Hasta he visto que cierran luego el restaurante porque no se quieren ser responsables.
I've also seen that they close the restaurant right away to not be responsible.
Ahora que si quiere expander,
Now that they want to expand,
veo que sus horas de horarios que dicen ahí
I see that their business hours
es
that I see,
mentira.
it's a lie.
Se salen de los tiempos que es y siguen con el ruido.
They go outside of their business hours and continue with the noise.
En cambio, yo tengo que levantar temprano para
In
mi trabajo.
exchange, I have to wake up early and go to work.
Hay que importarnos nuestra salud para dormir un rato más. Tengo que ir al trabajo
We
temprano.
must care for our health to be able to make it to work.
Esta gente no les importa. Quiere el dinero.
These individuals don't care.
Ahora con esta construcción veo que ni siquiera van a tener un resguardo de sonido y ocupando parking.
Now with this construction, I don't see any noise level control and occupying the parking.
Un parking. ¿Para qué es? Para carros, ¿verdad?
Parking is for cars.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Next person.
Good evening. My name is Ernesto Jimenez, son of Margarita Jimenez, who's the owner of the parcel parallel to Hobson Barley, to the east. We did see something that I was going to bring up. Since they put up the temporary, they have their trash kind of facing our parcel, and they do have to take out their trash through and get into our parcel property line. So we did see, though, that if I can clarification that it would be going outward towards the parking lot, and because we do have plans to potentially put up a fencing. Because as the gentleman before said, we have seen human defecation, whether it be maybe not the number two, right? Maybe that might be the homeless that have frequency in the area. They're also urination, so we have wanted to put up a fence. We haven't done so because, again, we want to be good neighbors to them, right? But if we do put up the fence, there's no way they're going to be able to take out their trash. So that was something that we're going to ask if they're going to make this permanent, that they figure out where they're going to put their trash because they can't continue to move it through our property. And then we just simply ask that they respect our parcel boundaries. really, I guess this construction would be not really facing ours. More so, it's just a concern on what they're going to do with their trash. So that they're not having to take out their trash through our parcel. They also seem to go through our parcel to take in their inventory now. In the past, I believe they used to go through that parking lot, which is now, fenced over. So now, if this would be permanent, they, would need to figure out how to bring in their inventory and not pass through our parcel, especially if we're going to be putting in a fence, a proposal to put a fence to close off our parcel. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Aide Bravo. I was a teacher here in the Southeast for 29 years, and I'm recently retired. I'm pleased to offer my support for the proposed patio at Hops and Barley Ale House. For many years, Hops and Barley has welcomed approximately 100 teachers from Southeast and South Area LAUSD schools for our twice yearly celebrations. These gatherings recognize the dedication and hard work of educators who serve thousands of students throughout the region. Having a covered patio would greatly improve these events by providing protection from the sun during warmer months and shelter from the rain during the winter celebrations. It would allow our group to gather comfortably while enjoying a well-designed outdoor space. The proposed patio would also improve the visual appeal of the business, making it an attractive destination within Southgate. Investments that beautify local businesses help strengthen the community, attract more visitors, and encourage continued economic growth. Teachers believe in supporting the community. We proudly patronize small businesses in Southgate, and we hope the commission will approve this project so Hops and Barley Ale House can continue serving the community for many years to come. Thank you for your service and for this consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to come out here and speak on behalf of this restaurant. My name is Claudia Silva, and I am also an educator with LAUSD. And we use the facility, we acquire the facility for twice a year. And we do stay within our hours, and educators go and celebrate, but never get rowdy and don't tend to get out of control. So I'm definitely in support of expansion of that patio area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Surprise. I'm also an educator here. To the honorable members of the Southgate Planning Commission, I respectfully ask that the Planning Commission approve the proposed patio as Hops and Barley Ale House. This project represents an opportunity to support a local business that has been a gathering, a place for educators and community members such as ourselves. Approximately 100 LAUSD teachers from the Southeast and South areas meet here twice a year, sometimes more on our own time as well, to celebrate holidays and the conclusion of the year. These events bring patrons into the Southgate who dine, socialize, and continue supporting other local businesses. A permanent patio would provide shelter from weather, improve customer comfort, and allow these gatherings to continue successfully throughout the year. The patio would also enhance the property's appearance and contribute positively to the surrounding areas and business district. Attractive outdoor dining spaces encourage customers to stay longer, return more often, and recommend the establishments to others. Increased businesses activity benefits not only Hops and Barley's, but also contributes additional revenue to the city of Southgate throughout the increased commerce. Approving this project demonstrates the city's commitment to supporting responsible businesses' growth while enhancing the local economy. Thank you. I look forward to having this establishment, and I do abide by the rules and the time that they give us.
I'm sorry, man. Can we get your name, please?
Marta Nevares.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rosalba Barajas, and I'm a fourth grade teacher and resident of Southgate.
And I'm Alba Becerra. Also, I am a teacher, LAUSD as well. And I grew up in Southgate as well.
And mostly for the reasons mentioned, we are, we hope that you can support the planning proposal for the patio. It is a tradition for us to, we support local businesses, and it's a way of gathering and just, celebrating with each other. And so by, with this plan, then we will be able to continue that in that space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Permiso para hablar en español, por favor.
Sí, claro.
Buenas tardes a cada uno de ustedes.
Good evening today.
Viendo
I've been listening, all the comments. Personally, me,
Perdón. Personalmente, no tengo
Personally,
nada en contra del restaurante.
I have nothing against the
Uno.
restaurant.
Ahora, en lo que estoy desacuerdo
What I
es
am
en lo de
against
afuera.
is what's going
Ahora,
to be
solamente
outside.
una pregunta a todos los que han expresado su opinión.
The only question I
¿Ellos
have
viven
for today,
cerca ahí del restaurante?
do they live next to the
No sé
restaurant?
si ellos vivan cerquita del
I don't know
restaurante.
if they live next to the restaurant.
¿Les puede preguntar si viven cerquita del restaurante?
He would like to ask if anybody that spoke in favor, if they live near the restaurant.
Nadie, ¿verdad? Entonces,
Nobody.
aquí la cosa es
So the thing here is,
de que yo vivo enfrente del restaurante.
I live in
He
front of the
tenido
restaurant.
demasiados problemas,
I've
pero
had a lot
nunca
of
he ido
problems,
con él a hablar
but I've
por
never gone
evitar
with them to
problemas,
talk.
¿verdad? Afuera, en mi casa se mean
Outside of my house, they
con
urinate.
2, 3 personas que a veces habemos de todo en el mundo. Hay personas respetuosas,
With
pero hay
2 or
otras
3
que se pasan.
persons, there's
Hasta
some
han
people that are
querido
respectful and
echar
others
pleito conmigo.
that want to
Para
have
evitar
fights
eso,
with me.
yo pues, no les digo más nada.
I
¿verdad?
don't say
He
anything
hablado
beyond
varias
that.
veces aquí a la
I've
policía
called many times the
y lo
police
que hacen es
department.
llegan hasta una hora después.
They arrive an hour
Ok.
after I've called.
En lo que ellos dicen de la música,
What they
en
say
la
about the
pantalla que
music,
tienen de este tamaño,
it's the
se
screen the
prende
size
1,
of
2,
this
3 de la
image,
mañana
and
y
it's on
ahí
from
está
1
toda
to
la
3 in the
pantalla
morning,
encendida.
and the
Y yo
screen is
pienso
on.
que no hay permisos para hacer
I don't think there's any
en un
permits
parqueadero porque eso es
to do
público.
something in a, si- in
O
a
sea,
parking
si yo
area
estoy
that's
tomando una
public.
cerveza en lo público, ¿qué
If I'm
pasa?
drinking a beer
Viene
in
la
a public
policía y me
area,
arresta, ¿no?
the police
Entonces,
comes
porque
and
ellos
arrests me.
venden licor
So then how
afuera.
are they able to sell
Yo
liquor
pienso que eso
outside?
es ilegal.
I think that's
Adentro
illegal.
del restaurante pueden hacer lo que quieran.
Inside of the
Incluso
restaurant, it's fine.
la banda
They
que
can do
ellos
as they want.
llevan últimamente a las
Including
9 de la noche empieza hasta la
sometimes
1, 2 de la
the band
mañana.
that they take
Y yo
starts at
pienso
9
que no
p.m.
pueden
and
decir
stays
que
from
no
1 to 2 in the a.m.
porque mi esposa llega del trabajo a las
My
12
wife arrives at
y es un
12
escándalo.
a.m.
En
and
rojo y en la bomba del agua,
Next,
ahí se parquea todo el mundo.
extreme loud
En la
noise,
banqueta,
and people are
que es
parked along the fire
paso
hydrant.
de para las personas,
On the
ahí
sidewalk, there is
se
walking
ponen
way.
todas las motocicletas.
All the
¿sí?
motorcyclists
O
parked
sea, es un descontrol
there. It's out of
tremendo
control.
ahí. Sí, o sea,
in
yo
that area.
lo que es para adentro, no hay problema.
What's inside,
Y
I don't
ellos
have a
dicen que
problem.
de hasta las 11 y no. Incluso
They
los
say until
empleados
11
se
a.m.,
quedan afuera
and including the
platicando,
employees
haciendo
stay
escándalo.
outside and are loud.
Y pues uno tiene que dormir, como dijo el
And
vecino.
we have to sleep.
Y pues desgraciadamente no pudieron venir la demás gente.
And
Pero si
unfortunately,
hay
no one
algo
else
que
could
hacer,
come.
firmas o lo que sea,
But if there's
se las
something that
vamos a
has to be
conseguir.
do like
O
signatures,
sea, yo
then we
quiero que
will
las opiniones de los demás es
collect
porque
them.
sí se van a divertir. Yo
I
no
want the
tengo nada
opinion of the
con eso.
rest.
Yo he ido,
It's fine to go
voy a
have
otros
fun.
lugares,
I'll go
me
other
divierto,
places.
agarro mi
I
carro
have fun.
y me voy para mi
I'll get my
casa,
vehicle
como
and I
sea.
go home.
Pero la gente esta se queda, aparte después de que sale
But the
del
people
restaurante,
here
se quedan a
stay
platicar,
outside of the restaurant
ahí
and
están tomando
drink,
y me consta porque ahí queda todo el envasero,
and
todo
he
el
sees everything left
botes y
behind.
eso, da que tal vez no sale del negocio de ellos o no sé,
If it
pero pues
maybe
eso
doesn't come out of the
yo
restaurant,
pienso que eso no está bien.
but I think that's not
Sí,
correct.
o sea, yo para mí estoy
For
en
me,
contra de
I am against
que lo pongan afuera,
that they use the outside
porque
space.
en varios restaurantes y todo, incluso hay otro
In many
restaurante abajo,
restaurants,
ya lo
there's a
quitaron por lo
restaurant down
mismo.
the street,
Ahora ellos
but they
quieren
already took
poner
it down.
karaoke y todo eso
And then they
afuera,
put karaoke outside.
es más bulla.
It's
Y
more
además
loud
los pleitos
noise.
están, cada 8 días hay pleito.
And
Y
the
luego
fights are there every
desde
8
los
days.
lunes igual,
On Mondays as well.
día lunes, A ver, comienzan a veces de miércoles.
Sometimes they start
Sí.
from Mondays,
O sea,
sometimes
no,
on
no estoy en
Wednesdays.
contra de que se divierta la
I'm not
gente,
against
todos
people
tenemos
having
derecho.
fun. We all have the
Sí,
right
pero
to.
si uno de ellos vive donde yo vivo,
But if one of them lives
podrán
where I
decir
live,
que me vaya yo de ahí, pero es mi casa.
that's my
Sí.
house.
Y pues, la verdad, estoy ahí desde el 2004 yo.
I've lived there since 2004.
Desde que estaba Sizzler, ahí era una chulada
Sizzler was
esa
there.
área. Ahorita es
That
un
place is
desastre.
beautiful. No, it's a
Sí.
disaster.
Muchos muertos.
There's many
No
deaths.
es culpa de eso, ¿verdad?
It's
Pero
not their fault.
es mucha inseguridad.
There's a lot of
Sí,
insecurity.
ese es mi desacuerdo.
And that's
Entonces,
what I disagree on.
algo tenemos que hacer y
We
lamentar
need to
para
do
mí,
something.
no
and for
acepto
me,
que se les dé ese permiso.
I don't accept that
Adentro de su
permit.
restaurante
Inside of the
tienen
restaurant,
todos sus permisos, sus derechos
all of
y
their
todo lo que
permits and
ellos
their
quieran
rights to
hacer,
do,
aunque la bulla siempre sale.
although the
Pero
noise comes
afuera
out.
quieren ponerse con las pantallas esas.
But outside they want to put those screens.
Últimamente puro escándalo y puro
Lately
pleito.
it's just
Tengo
nothing but loud
grabaciones.
noises and fights. I have
Sí,
recordings.
tengo grabaciones de la hora que terminan,
I have recordings from when it
que horas
ends.
comienzan, o sea,
the
si hay que
starts.
presentar eso,
If I have to present
está
that,
bien, pero
it's fine.
entonces estoy de desacuerdo.
But I
Y si hay algo
disagree.
que hacer, firmas de vecinos,
And if I need to collect
las vamos a
signatures,
traer.
I will
O
bring them.
sea, vamos a ir hasta donde se pueda,
We will go
pero
as far
no
as we need
estamos de
to.
acuerdo que
We are not
se les dé ese
in
permiso.
agreement that this permit
Y
gets issued.
necesitamos que ya quiten lo que tienen afuera.
And we need that
Por
to
favor.
be taken.
Gracias.
¿Se me puede dar su nombre, por favor?
Francisco Chitay.
Gracias, Francisco.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Gracie Zepeda, and I am from a neighboring city. I'm 6 miles northeast of here. And I have many businesses that I can go to from Downey here to Southgate, but I choose to go to Hops and Barley for their hospitality, for the events that they host, for the family, the fact that I can bring my family to the establishment as well as myself. During the Southgate, I don't know, is it a street fair you all have here once a year? I'll be here for that year, and I know that my family can have a restaurant to eat in addition to enjoying the shops on the street, because that's what Hops and Barley's is. It's really a place where you can go more than just having a beer, more than just having a nightly event. You can go and take your family there and enjoy it. And I'm very supportive, and I hope you are, because again, there's many choices that I can pick from my neighboring city to go to and take my tax dollars, but I rather come to Hops and Barley because I enjoy their hospitality and all the events that they host beyond just the evenings on the weekends. So thank you, and I hope you approve it.
Thank you.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Lisbeth Ibarra.
Good evening. My name is Lisbeth Ibarra.
Yo vivo al lado de Hops and Barley.
I live next to Hope.
Yo sí estoy de acuerdo
Hops
que
and Barley.
arreglen el bar.
I am
Lo
in
único que
agreement
es
with the,
un poquito
upgrades.
que el parking haya un poquito más de seguridad,
It's just that they need a little
como
more security in the
policías,
parking,
porque
like
la verdad sí hay
police.
bastantes pleitos.
Because yes, there is a lot of
Ahora
fights.
van y orinan afuera
And
ahí
then they
y el
urinate
olor es
outside and the
horrible.
smell is horrible.
Aparte deberían de poner, yo pienso, o cámaras para estar
Besides,
mirando,
they should put
porque sí
cameras.
está a veces medio inseguro. Mi hijo
Sometimes
duerme,
it's very insecure.
su cuarto está a un lado y
My-
a mí sí me
my
da miedo
son
que un día haga un
lives-
balazo o algo
sleeps
así.
next door
Pero
to
yo estoy de acuerdo con el bar.
and I'm concerned that there's some
Gracias.
bullets might go in through my
Gracias.
son's room, but I am in agreement with the restaurant. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Melanie Robles. I also live right next to Hops and Barley. Honestly, I have no issue with the bar. I'm going to be frank. I don't often frequent, but that's just, I work a lot. But it always seems to be a vibrant, community-filled, spot. There's children playing with this FIFA World Cup. We really only had like a couple instances, maybe like when Mexico won the first time, right? People were in the streets throwing out shots or firecrackers in the parking lots. Again, this was behind the hops and barley. So I am also, like, I second what Lisbeth Ibarra said. If there's cameras, some type of bouncer or extra security, that would really help us, being close to the restaurant as residents, just because there is a lot of people who get out and do urinate. There are a lot of people who do stay on after the hours. So it would be nice if upon closing, somebody moves them along, just tells them, hey, time to go home. The parking lot itself, I think at some point you have to move your cars by like 3 a.m. So, I mean, absolutely, that should be the absolute most definite cutoff of all noise. Especially, I do understand what other previous residents have been saying, that it does get a little bit rowdy after. That is not currently, the bar's responsibility. I don't think if they are closing at their hours. If they're not, maybe some extra security would just be, better for us. Yeah, I honestly, the only time I really ever even hear hops and barley go absolutely crazy is during some type of football game or a hockey game or some moment where the whole community is screaming and shouting, living life, having the best time. So, I mean, there are times where I've tried to go to Hops and Barley and it's closed, right? Because there's not enough people frequenting during the week. So I do understand where their karaoke situation might encourage other people to have more rowdy experiences, but right now that's not the case for my experience, at least only on those days where it's a very major game scenario. Yeah, we have no issue with the bar in my household. The noise doesn't really bother me at all. As a matter of fact, I kind of see it as a very nice way for people to interact in the community. I would approve the patio. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is David Esparza. I'm a frequent patron of the bar. I respect a lot of the issues that the people that live nearby have, but that is not the responsibility of the owners. And any local bar in the area is going to have the same issues. I do agree that there probably should be more monitoring of the situation after closing hours, but that does not fall on them. The patio area, I've been going to Hops and Barley since it first opened up. The area is, since it's opened up, the patio has been extremely beneficial to their company, and I approve it. So I hope it passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jesse Urias, and I'm not a teacher. I'm here because, I'm a patron of Hops and Barley. And one of the reasons that I decided to come out here was because there's a family, everyone treats you like family there. The owners, the employees, they make you feel welcome. I bring my kids, my family there, and it's always a good time. You know what I mean? And I believe, and I hear the concerns of the people that live there, you know what I mean? But improving this patio would eliminate some of the noise, because what they have there right now, it's not going to stop the noise. So I believe if you guys approve the patio, it'll also help them as well. You know what I mean? So I hope you guys approve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa.
Buenas tardes.
Good
o
evening.
Buenas noches.
Good night.
Mi nombre es Gloria Marín.
My name is Gloria Marin.
Yo vivo allí en la San Juan 9816.
I live on San Juan on 18th.
Y yo tengo ahí 42
I've
años
lived there
viviendo.
for 42 years.
Yo era muy feliz antes,
I was very happy there.
pero ahora,
But now,
desde que empezó este bar,
but since this
ha
bar has
ha
started,
sido muy, muy, muy difícil.
it has been very difficult.
Cuidarnos de todo,
We've been taking care of
porque
everything
a veces
because
están muy, muy tomados.
sometimes they're very intoxicated.
Se pasan para la barda
They jump over
adentro
the fence,
y hay niñas
and there's girls.
y hay mucho peligro.
There's a lot of danger.
Una vez
One time,
entraron 2 personas
2 persons entered
con comida.
with food.
Allí tiraron toda la comida adentro
They
de
spilled all over
en
the
los
food,
parques.
Oh, they spilled all the
y
food on the parking.
embarraron a unos carros
They spread it on the
de los
vehicles
vecinos.
of our neighbors'
Y en
vehicles.
verdad no tiene uno ya mucha
In
confianza,
reality, we don't have a
porque
lot of
aunque
trust,
esté cerrado el DEN, se meten.
even though the fence is
también,
closed, they come in.
Se meten y fuman allí su marihuana
And they also smoke
en una esquina, pero
marijuana
adentro.
in a corner, but inside.
Y luego hacen mucha bulla porque va mucha jovencita,
Also, they make a lot of noise because there's a lot of
muchos
young
jóvenes,
people, young males and
y luego
females,
se enojan
and then they get
o
mad
salen celosas
or they get jealous,
y se pelean
and they fight
allí en la
right there.
barda que está cerca de donde nosotros
by the
vivimos,
wall, by
donde
where
yo
I live,
vivo.
where I live.
Hay muchas personas viviendo allí,
There's many people living there,
pero hay dos niñas.
but there's 2 young girls.
Y digo, si se meten para adentro,
If they come in and
porque
they
ellos
enter
brincan
because they jump
para
over,
adentro. Entonces digo, yo no sé. Y
then I
luego
say I don't
llama
know.
uno a la policía.
I call the
Yo una
police.
vez llamé
Once I
porque
called
se metió uno y entró por atrás,
because
por
one
las
time one
ventanas de
person
los
entered
baños,
through the back
y allá
by the
andaba,
restrooms,
y luego llamé
and then I
que
called
fueran.
the
Y
police
lo
to
que me
go,
contestaron,
and what they
que yo
answered me
saliera primero a ver si ya se había ido.
was to see if the person had left.
Entonces ya no tiene uno confianza,
So I don't
no
have no more
tiene uno
trust.
fe.
I don't have faith.
Y si uno los llama,
And
ya
if we
llegan bien
call
tarde,
the
ya que pasó todo.
Police, they arrive late and everything has
Una
passed.
vez estaban allí cacheteando a una muchacha,
One time someone was slapping a
no
girl,
sé, un novio o la
A
amante
boyfriend
del
or-
novio, bueno, se pelearon.
they got in a fight.
Y llamamos a la policía,
We called the police.
poco llegó.
They
Ya
didn't
llegó ya
arrive.
que ya se habían ido.
They arrived after they had left.
Y otro muchacho también se
Another
trepó en
guy
las plantas
jumped over
y allí
the
se quedó
plants
su carro.
and his car was left
Y
behind.
llamamos y tampoco fueron.
And we also called the police and they
Y
did
pero
not
de
go.
todos modos el muchacho no pudo sacar su carro porque se quedó arriba de las plantas.
The young man
hasta
was
el
not able
otro
to take out
día
his vehicle because it was on the plants. The other
Fueron
day,
a ver,
until the
el
other day, they
carro.
went to go see the vehicle.
el muchacho se fue o sus amigos se lo llevaron.
The young man
Pero
left
ya
or his friends
mucha
took him.
juventud
But there's a lot of youth
y salen muy tomados.
and they come out very
Y
intoxicated.
antes Southgate
And
era
before Southgate
una ciudad linda,
was a beautiful
preciosa.
city.
No digo que no.
I don't say
Pero
it wasn't.
ahora
But now
salen,
But-
se pelean,
they come out,
se
they
salen,
fight, they get out,
rayan los vidrios de las tiendas,
They-
de los
they
comercios,
do graffiti on
le
the
echan lumbre
windows of
a
the
las
businesses.
plantas
They
que
put
están, ahora ya
fires
las
on
quitaron.
plants.
Luego le echan lumbre a los botes de
They
basura.
start fires on our trash
No quieren
cans.
tener un país bueno, no quieren
wanna
tener
have a
una
nice
ciudad
nation.
bonita.
A pretty
Digo,
city.
si apenas aquí en la ciudad van y ponen botes de basura
We barely have
bonitos y
trash
todo,
cans that are
al
pretty in the
rato ya
city.
vemos, ya están quemados.
And before we know it, they're all burnt.
¿Qué es lo que quieren ellos?
This is what they want,
¿Tener una basura? ¿Ser una
Trash.
basura, Southgate?
to have the city
Cuando
of Southgate
Southgate era tan lindo,
When
tan
Southgate
todo,
used
y
to be very
ahora
beautiful and now
es mucha perdición,
It's too much
muertes y
loss,
todo. Donde
death and
quiera
everything.
atropellan
People get
y
run
la
over.
verdad ya en mí
And to be
a
honest,
veces
for me,
pienso y digo, Señor, en tus
sometimes I think,
manos
God,
nos ponemos porque solamente tú eres el único
we
que
put
tú puedes
ourselves
poner paz en esta juventud
in you to give us peace
porque
with
son
the
muy
youth
rebeldes
because they're very rebellious
y es la verdad,
and it's the truth.
pero pues es un mundo diferente
It's a
ahora
different world
y ya el mundo ya está echado a perder porque
and
nosotros
the world
mismos
has
lo
been
hemos
destroyed
echado a
because we
perder.
have destroyed it ourselves.
Muchas gracias y eso
Thank
es
you.
todo.
And that's all I have.
¿Ok?
Okay.
Gracias. Any other audience comments? I'm going to close this portion for the audience. Do we have
There's
any?
somebody on Zoom.
Yeah, do we have anyone on Zoom?
So Mr. Dominguez is on Zoom and also Robert Montalvo. So I'm gonna ask Mr. Dominguez to unmute himself first and then we'll get to Robert.
Okay, I want to instruct, order, and demand that our commissioners hold the applicant responsible for complying and meeting the higher design standard that was previously presented for this project, rather than the scaled back version they currently want to proceed with. Our city made all of this investment in fixing Tweedy Boulevard, improving the condition of this street. We deserve to have businesses that look good on it. We don't want cheap looking buildings in our city. We have enough of them already. The applicants should be looking for new ways of taking our city to the next level with their business and not settling for mediocrity. We don't want cheap wrought iron fencing and corrugated metal roofs. What is it supposed to be? Some sort of garage? The higher design standard will also provide more noise reduction for the residents than what they are proposing. What they are proposing is trash, commissioners. If this applicant isn't willing to comply and move forward with giving our city something that we can be proud of, then you need to deny this applicant their request. I am perfectly okay with Hops and Barley Ale House remaining as it is today. We deserve better from this applicant. Commissioners, if you go to Bellflower, if you go to Downey, if you go to Paramount, you don't see trash like what they're proposing. You don't see that type of trash in those cities. You know, how about elevating our city and taking it to a higher place? I want us to have great looking buildings, great looking businesses in our city. And commissioners, this is your duty, so do your duty, folks. I'll end with that.
Thank you.
We'll move on to, Robert Montalvo.
Hello, am I coming in okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. Wasn't a similar project or coming up down the street from this where it's going to be an outdoor facility with live music and bands and stuff like that playing just up the street? I think it's where the old dentist building was at. I think that was just approved, right, through council not too long ago. So this is going to add on to it. And I'm wondering if any soundproofing can be added to the existing design. My main concern is the way the city enforces the laws here. I mean, a company like Engel can get away for years without paying any taxes, operating illegally, poisoning our environment, our air. But we're attacking businesses that are generating revenue for us. And I call it an attack because it's not fair to everybody, the way everything's enforced. And that's a big concern to me, because this is in a time where we need revenue. We need every penny, every dollar we can get. And that brings me up. I think, I hope I didn't misunderstand, but you want them to stop serving an hour before they close. Well, if they close at 11, they might as well just close at 10. I really do believe you should take that off if you do approve this, because it's just, you're just spinning wheels. They're just going to wind up closing anyway. What's the point of having an event and then all of a sudden you have to stop serving alcohol? Maybe 10 minutes before when people normally do last call, but an hour, that does not make sense for this establishment. I've been there before. Actually, I've been there a couple of times. And I wonder how much they would lose. And maybe if they can elaborate on that, every day, just closing an hour early. I wonder how much revenue that costs them, and in turn will cost us as a city in taxes. And on that design, I think they should honor the original one that the city imposed on them. Not just for the optics, but just for the way it looks when you're driving by. I do not live close to that area, but I don't doubt that all those terrible things, people urinating, defecating, fighting, I don't doubt those things happen. I monitor police calls and radio calls. I do not hear it often over there at all. I can't remember the last time I heard a call going out for Hops and Barley, but I do seriously think you should consider this. It's not going to be an easy decision, weighing both what residents feel and what I think the city needs. But I'm with the point where we need money, and we need to help small businesses, especially the existing ones that have been here over a decade already. And I think they have a proven track record of actually giving back and putting back to some of the residents and some of the organizations in here. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any emails, Javier?
We had an email from Mr. Dominguez, but he spoke. John, I don't know if you caught if Cynthia Matthews spoke in person. No? So Cynthia Matthews the speaker expresses support for the proposed patio at Hobson Barley, stating that it would improve customer comfort, enhance the property's appearance, and support a local business that serves as a gathering place for educators and community members. The speaker stated that the project would encourage increased patronage, strengthen the local economy, generate additional city revenue, and demonstrate the city's commitment to responsible business growth. And that was from Cynthia Matthews, and we reduced it with AI.
Thank you. Before I open it up to my colleagues, I did want to mention that I did meet with the applicant last month. I was able to meet with Sergio and Catherine to review the renderings. Just for transparency, I just want to let everyone know that my decision today is based on the staff recommendations and also what's happening today during our public hearing. At this time, I'll open it up to my colleagues for any questions.
I actually wanted to see what were the hours that were proposed.
I think it's the same hours that they have on Google.
On the weekends. Okay. And so we were proposing that they, like Thursday through Saturday, that they stop at midnight. Is that what it? I'm trying to comprehend the hours, the closing an hour.
Can you
stop
clarify
serving
that,
an
John?
hour before.
Yeah, we took these from their website. I think Monday through Wednesday and Thursday and Saturday were there. I think the Sunday one was missing like closing date. So that was taken from Google.
Clarify that. I'd like to clarify that. The current hours that are posted there are correct, but it does vary from season to season. One of the things that we operate as is not only as a restaurant, but as a sports bar. So therefore, during certain periods of the year, the hours might change. And as far as I believe, the current conditional user permit that exists for that building allows for us to be able to open like from 8 in the morning, because when it previously operated as a Denny's, it would open early in the morning. We decided to post these hours and work these hours at the moment because that's the best, you might say, scenario for us to be able to get customers to come in. Opening at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock was not really working for us. So we decided to start opening at 5 o'clock. Sundays, when September comes along and the football season begins, we usually try to open the restaurant by 9:30 in the morning. So that would be then, adjusted on our websites or on any information that we put out to customers. But currently, right now, we are opening at 12 o'clock and we're closing by 11 o'clock. But because once again, by 11 o'clock, we have very few customers. So we decide to to close at that time.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Yeah, for the sake of transparency, I also wanted to note that I also met with the applicants yesterday, and we did discuss the plans and a lot of the same things that were discussed today. And I also gave them notice that, you know, that our decision is set today based on, you know, what we do discuss here. And so some of the questions I had were related also to the alcohol license. It's my understanding that the alcohol or the conditional use permit should already stipulate when the sales should cease. Are they operating under a previous permit or?
The previous user was Denny's, a Denny's restaurant, and they were in prior to the Tweedy Boulevard specific plan, which came in around 2019. And so they've basically continued on with the existing restaurant use serving alcohol.
So this new permit would have its own conditions then, right? It would supersede that?
Yeah, it's an expansion to the existing business. So we brought it before you because there is no, I guess, pre-existing conditional use permit.
For this applicant. And so based on that, just from my experience with other businesses that operate and sell alcohol, it is standard for them to cease selling alcohol an hour before they close, right?
Correct. We've conditioned that for other projects.
And so would there have to be a set schedule, or is it just really dependent on when they choose to open and close?
We didn't indicate the hours of operation in the resolution. The only thing we said is they needed to close an hour before, or stop serving alcohol an hour before closing.
Okay. And yeah, I guess my personally, I didn't feel like the current design was problematic aesthetically. I did have questions related to the sound barrier specified on the noise report, on the noise study. It does say that, you know, they're recommending for a sound curtain. I wasn't really sure how that was supposed to look or work. I don't know if you can expand on that. The acoustic blanket wall.
When, yeah, and the way the applicant explained it, it sounded like it was more of a temporary thing, whereas more for shading for the people dining out there, whereas a sound blanket, I guess, would be more, I guess, I would imagine harder to move and more permanent. I would say, imagine it's a little bit unsightly because it can be, you know, look like construction fencing. So it may not be the best thing. That's why we recommend that the architecture be of a higher design.
That would be my only concern, to have something more specific when they do say that, and that I imagine, I mean, the stipulation kind of says that the acoustic blanket wall would have to be met, right?
Yeah, we took the recommendations from the noise study and we incorporated that into the conditions of approval.
Yeah, I mean, I really do feel for the neighbors, and I am personally dismayed by their account of not really feeling like they've been heard by the police department. And I'm also wondering why that wasn't mentioned, because you guys typically reach out to them, right?
We did send a referral over to the police department, got comments back. I don't think they actually had specific comments for this one, but we included conditions as part of the resolution that we've included for the police department in previous projects. And there's also a condition in regards to the cameras. So condition 9 on, it's page 5 of 10 of the resolution, page 1081 of the agenda packet. There's a condition there saying the permittee shall install and maintain a 24-hour video surveillance camera system covering the outdoor covered seating area and alcohol service area, and shall have managers trained in how to access footage. And then it goes on from there. They need to record and maintain a minimum of 72 hours, and police officers shall be allowed access to surveillance footage upon request for the purpose of conducting a criminal investigation. So that's one condition that we've included. And then there's two more on page 1085 under the police department section, where the site shall be adequately secured and management shall be properly trained in reviewing and retrieving security camera video. And then condition number 49, if a burglary or robbery alarm system is installed, it must be registered with the city and emergency contact information kept on site.
So I remember other permits that had to do with alcohol sales also kind of had their own requirements with staff training. And I'm curious to see if that's already been adhered to. I understand that it's a lot of those stipulations with the ABC permits kind of are set there to kind of prevent some of these things from happening, you know, cutting people out early. And I'm not sure if the applicant can do something else to kind of have that better, you know, be a better good neighbor to the residents. But I don't know what could be within the city's power to kind of dictate that.
There were some questions in regards to security that might be a better question to ask the applicant in terms of what the current security, system or, personnel is there.
Or even staff training, if there is staff training to kind of, let patrons know, like, and I've been to businesses too where they're like, hey, let's be a good neighbor and not, be rowdy. And so I don't know if that's something that maybe they would like to consider, because it is disheartening to hear about their experiences, and I don't completely blame the business. It's definitely hard to control patrons, but I kind of do wonder if there's something else that can be done to alleviate that.
First of all, in regards to the comments of our neighbors, if I can say it in Spanish, I can translate myself. A los vecinos que están cerca del restaurante,
To the neighbors that are here in the restaurant.
les ofrecemos una disculpa si
We
es que en
offer you
alguna
an
ocasión
apology
alguno de nuestros
if in any
visitantes
way
o
any
clientes
of our customers
causó algún daño o
caused you harm,
causó algún problema.
caused a problem.
Como dijo una persona antes,
As one person said before,
eso está fuera de nuestro control. Nosotros
It's
estamos
out of our
controlando lo
control.
que está sucediendo dentro
we
del
can only control
restaurante.
what's inside of the restaurant.
Desde que abrimos el restaurante,
Since we opened the restaurant,
nosotros estamos ahí presentes todo el tiempo.
we have been there present
Desde
every
que se
single
abren las
time
puertas
since
hasta que
they
se
open the
cierran.
door till they close them.
Y les invito a cualquiera de los vecinos
invite
que
every
en
of the
algún,
neighbors
en algún momento haya un
That if
problema,
at any time they
nos
have a
puede
problem,
contactar
they
inmediatamente.
can contact us immediately.
Otra cosa que
Another
tal vez
thing
no están tomando muy en cuenta o tal vez
Maybe you're
se
not taking into
está
consideration,
juntando es
or
que
maybe coming
el
together.
restaurante está situado donde está un callejón.
The
There's an
restaurant
alley
is
right
next
there.
to an alley.
And if any of you were to walk there right now, si pasaran por ahí van a encontrar 10,
Pass
12
through there, you'll
personas
probably
que
see
están
12 to
vagando
10
nada más
people
por
that are
ahí.
just
Personas que también
transients,
han edificado unas pequeñas casas para
that have
poder dormir ahí.
modified homes to live there.
They've set up little places where they can stay there overnight. And it also, nos hace ver a nosotros un poco mal, porque el
us look
cliente
bad.
de nosotros llega y ve que hay personas que están ahí
The
simplemente
client sees it
durmiendo en el suelo.
as if they're just sleeping there.
Entonces eso es algo que también
So that
tendrían
is
que tomar
something
en cuenta.
that also needs to be considered.
And if I can ask Mr. Signo, would you be able to go back to the image where it shows the sound barriers?
I don't have the
The current situation at our restaurant is that we have some fence and we have a canopy. There are no sound barriers at the moment. And when we do have a big crowd of customers outside watching a sporting event, it's natural for them to cheer. It's natural for them to spark a conversation and obviously create noise. The design that we are proposing is to put those sound barriers, which would be vinyl curtains that are, not thin, they're pretty thick, that would be rolled up during the day, which when, during the day, any noise would be mitigated by other noise that's in the surrounding area. But at night, if we do have an event that carries into the night, those barriers would come down to try to keep the noise within the structure. Currently, at the moment, we don't have any sound barrier. So it's perfectly understandable when they say that they can hear us, they can hear our customers, they can hear maybe even the music. The music is played inside, but when customers exit the restaurant, they obviously have to open the door, and that's when obviously if they're playing, the noise travels outside, and it's understandable. They might be able to hear it at 200-300 feet from the restaurant. But the intent is obviously to install these barriers so that we can maintain the noise within that patio area right there.
The other question, es que ya cerraron para el comentario.
Public comment is closed.
Ya cerramos ese.
Public comment closed.
Pero usted puede hablar con él después de la. Sí, pero
Es
no
que
se
cuando
permite ya
se
porque
cierra,
ya se
se
cerró.
cierra, ya no puedes
Since
seguir
we've already
hablando.
closed public, we cannot make more comments.
Señor, ya se cerró la porción.
We cannot make any further comments.
Craig, in the chair, should we do like a 5-minute break to allow the translator to rest?
Sure, we can do a 5-minute break.
So we'll go on a 5-minute break. I'm going to mute the video and the Zoom, and then we'll come back in 5 minutes.
I'll just have one more question after that.
we're live on YouTube. And then let me bring the Zoom back. All right, we're back on YouTube and on Zoom.
Yeah,
Thank you. Go ahead.
Sorry. So my last question had to do with the parking differences for this development. When I did see the parking stalls that were asked for on the back portion of the property, it kind of brought into perspective the other development down the street at the, I think it was like a block or two away, where we didn't require for any on-site parking because of the surrounding parking. So I wanted to see what was different about this.
Yeah, and that's correct, because there is a, I guess, Park Once program along the Tweedy Mile. There is public parking located behind many of the businesses, including this one here, and the one over there that you're referring to. So based on the Park Once program, it does allow you to consider the close by, nearby public parking spaces and street parking in lieu of the on-site parking requirements.
Got it. But here we did ask them to include 5 spaces in the back.
Yes, and they were able to provide 5. So they originally, without the canopy there, they had 8 there. It was oriented differently. They're proposing that canopy now, and they're still able to provide 5 on site.
Could have they not had to put it? That's my question.
It would be, I guess, more of a burden for the public parking spaces, because then you'd have fewer spaces. You know, staff feels it is a better design having the on-site, even though it's only 5. There's still 5 more spaces there.
Can they add to that? Can they?
It's really up to you. If you open the public hearing, we can.
Oh, it's for the applicant. You can go ahead and add to that.
Just 2 quick things. Originally, we questioned the same thing because we didn't want to include the extra parkings. And we said, you know, a few months back, the other building that's coming up got approved, and they were able to use public parking. So we were just wondering, why is it different, similar to what she was referring to? And another thing that I think I want to make very clear is that the patio schedule is not the same as the schedule inside. I think that there's a misunderstanding, because the patio, we don't use it till 3, 4 in the morning. It's technically, it even says, I think on one of your recommendations, 10 p.m., which we're fine with. We're not trying to use the patio for, till 1 in the morning on a Saturday. That's not the idea. The idea is for during the day when people come in, some people bring service dogs and they want to be in the patio. I just wanted to clear that up, because I think that the residents might have been confused on that. The patio doesn't have the same hours as the internal hours. Our internal hours are what's stated and what you guys saw, but outside, it's not technically intended to be used till 1 in the morning. Not at all. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's what I was trying to get the clarification, as if the hours were for that patio addition, or was it different inside? So thank you for that.
But like I said earlier, I think, at least for myself, I think it's, maybe it's not as fancy looking as the old rendition, but I think it's still a lot nicer than how it looks now. And I do agree with one of the some of the commenters saying that, it's an improvement and it should help with the noise. I see that. And just looking at the picture now, for the person who was asking about the trash enclosure access, it looks like the doors are facing towards the alley. So hopefully that helps with the, I think you could see it there. I'm looking at the same picture here, that it helps with that issue he mentioned. But Yeah, I think it's fine. And I could, see, hearing that they're going to be putting plants around it, I think that also help with the aesthetic look. I think, it's an investment that the owner is doing for the city, up to what they can afford. And I respect that. I do hope that they figure out a better way to, work with their neighbors and make things more bearable. I know it's hard to control your patrons, but I feel like there might be ways to train staff to maybe mitigate some of that. Cut people off earlier. I don't know. I've seen that specified on some of the ABC permits. But I think it's a good thing to have. I think this is one of the good things that came out of, probably one of the only good things that came out of the pandemic, was having these, outdoor spaces that really gave the public access to having more open space, especially, some people might be claustrophobic. This helps with that. People who are immune deficient and need open air, that helps with that. So I'm personally leaning towards it.
Thank you.
Chair Pareto, I believe there were some emails that I emailed the commission about that were received. I don't believe that all of them were read into the record because I think some of them, the speakers may have been here already and spoke on behalf.
We have one that it wasn't clear if it was read, so I'll read it now. So we summarized it with AI, and it says Hobson Bartley is not in third person, so I'm just going to read it that way. Hobson Bartley has long provided a welcoming gathering place for approximately 100 LAUSD teachers during twice yearly celebrations, and the proposed covered patio would make these events more comfortable by providing shade and protection from the weather. Approving this project would also enhance the business's appearance, support a value local small business, and contribute to Southgate's economic vitality and community pride.
And who is that from?
That was from Aide Bravo, second grade retired teacher.
Okay, there's another one also that was forwarded to the commission. It's from, I think it's Senamar. Ted Senamar. And he indicated that he's in support of the Hobson Barley Ale House. He has a long history with the property. He owned and operated the Sizzlers at the location for approximately 25 years. And he welcomes the addition to the Tweedy Boulevard specific plan. It's a family-run business that he mentioned, and he urges the Planning Commission to approve the request.
Any other comments?
Sure, I have a few comments. First of all, thank you for doing business in Southgate. I've also been to your establishment. I think it's a given if you've lived in Southgate that you've at least at some point frequented your location. I think, but it is important to note that what's before the commission is the proposed outdoor space. So I do have some questions in regards to that location and the outdoor location. And John, you referenced code violations for that location. How far back do they date? How many exist?
There's a citation from June of 2023. And then after that, following month in July 2023, there was a request for an extension. In December 24, there was a letter that was sent out. Another citation was issued on January 2025. Another citation was issued on March 2026 and April 2026. And between those, I know there's a lot of communications between code enforcement and the property owner, but there is an open code enforcement case on this property.
Thank you for sharing that. So I do want to disclose that, I was contacted by several neighbors that were not happy with the noise. I think it's important to note there's a difference between what the actual property owner can control and what's out of the control of the property owner, right? Whether it's a safety, people just congregating outside, that is clearly out of your control. When it comes to the noise aspect of it, that's something that you can manage within your facility. Does the location currently have a CUP that allows for live music?
No.
Okay. So for me, I think that's one of the things that created some reservation in regards to the enhancement of this location. Staff did recommend, a higher quality design than it was in the eyes of staff. It was downgraded. It was referenced that this is probably a structure that will be in place for 40 plus years. So I think no one is questioning the great service that they provide within the facility, the fact that they host groups, a lot of teachers from what we hear, right? It's a welcoming location, but what's in question is the current outdoor patio. And when you start to see the violations, multiple violations, them not being addressed, to me it's concerning because you now have a potential outdoor structure that could potentially be approved for a certain purpose, and then the owner can take it upon themselves to just decide to have live music out there. And what we've seen is that we're currently not honoring the rules of the city. That's why the codes are in place. There's codes for a reason. So my reservations are around just the history of not addressing what's already been brought to the attention of the property owner. I will say that to stay consistent with what this commission approved down the street, I think maybe one of the things that I think is important to point out is that the locations, actually the two parcels that were in question down the street, there wasn't existing parking. There was a blank, an open lot. I think maybe two, if that, current parking behind the medical or abandoned medical center. Very different than what we have here. Here we have an existing restaurant that had on-site parking that has now been taken up by technically an unpermitted structure since 2023. So the fact that maybe it's not required for the other location, this location had existing parking. So I think that might be something to take into account when staff proposed that there should be some on-site parking to this particular design. But I can't speak for staff. That's just my my conclusion based off what I'm seeing. The other location that was going to have open dining, which is consistent to this location, also was going to be providing on-site security during a specific hours of operation. I think it was in the evening hours over the weekend. So once again, that might be something to take into account if the applicant is willing to do that, just based off of the concerns of our neighbors there. I think something else that also comes to mind is, without a doubt, I think one of the things that we're tasked to do as a commission is to make sure that we set the bar based off of what we want to see on our Tweedy Mile corridor, business corridor. So when we start comparing something to what is currently there that is clearly not permitted, we're really lowering the bar. So when staff said there's a certain architectural kind of design that they're recommending based off of what was previously provided by the property owner, I think that's a valid point that the commission should take into account when making a decision. We're not looking at, okay, great, let's approve it now, and then hope down the line that the property owner takes it upon themselves to make improvements. I think there's a lot of uncertainty there. And I think that also creates a certain level of uncertainty that I think a lot of our community members probably don't feel comfortable with, given the current track record with existing violations at that site. Something else that I took note of is, I think for the city, consistency is something that's extremely important. So if we have code violations that are administered and identified across other areas of our city, whether it's property owners or at a residence or a business establishment, there's certain timelines that are provided for a reason. I believe that there's a lot of factors with why codes are being provided. Sometimes it's a safety issue. I think consistency is extremely important as we explore potentially having other outdoor spaces on that corridor. But those are just my thoughts and my reservations for proceeding with what's currently been provided for a lot of reasons. One, as I mentioned, the fact that the design is not up to the standards of our city and what the staff have really kind of to up the ante for that Tweety Mile that has been invested in significantly over the last 2 years. I think we owe it to our city to make sure that we have the best quality architectural design in place there. Now, I do want to, I would say, I don't know if the right word is sympathize with the property owner, because, you know, your investment is based off of what you can invest, right? And no one can tell you what you can do, but maybe it's not the right time to invest if you can't really provide something that is aligned with what the city would like to see at that location. Something to take into account, but at the end of the day, it's at the discretion of the property owner. But those are my comments. Once again, this has nothing to do with the quality of service that you provide, the great food that I've had at your location. It just simply goes back to the role of our commission and making sure that we uphold a high standard for our city. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
I had more of a comment. First of all, I want to say thank you for investing in our city. I remember going there when it was a Sizzler. I don't think it was a Denny's, it was a Sizzler. So just for the record, it was a Sizzler. Loved the buffet there back in the days. And I know now you're the new owners of that property. So again, thank you for that. And I also understand if I lived next door to the business, I also would not like to deal with some of the things that were mentioned. But I also understand you can't stop how people act, right? This could happen outside of a burger joint. You know, it happens. But what I would like to state for the record, is there a way that, and I think my colleague mentioned, when you have the big events, a security to shut it down at the end of the day, right at the end of the night, like everybody off premises. They do that at a lot of bars and clubs, where for that day, that those big events, that big fight. I'm not saying every day of the business. Obviously, it costs money to have securities there, but just kind of to start getting people moving out of the area. That would be one. And two, I mean, I don't know how often you would power wash, you know, the area, just to say, hey, because I want my business to continue here, you know, power wash the area to help maybe the neighbors with that. Just, you know, those two comments. And, you know, I think those are the only two I had. So security closing down after a big event, and then maybe power washing, not daily, but after a big event. Those are my two comments.
I think for me, you know, I'm really trying to sympathize with the business. I have gone in there. I do think it's a great place. You know, taking this position was also to hear out the community, because it's very important to listen to them. I don't know if this is something we've done before. I just don't know if I have to be honest to make a decision today about this, because there is a lot to take in effect. Because I do think that there is a part where there is some accountability to the owners after hours. Because I do think that there should have, maybe not in your control. I can see that if these problems were ongoing, somebody was there to see that there were some ongoing problems, that there were people that were fighting. There's no control about what happens in the alley and in the burning trashes. I get that. That's something outside. But, you know, I just can't imagine that there has not gotten to the owners that there was this ongoing problem of, you know, fighting or, you know, what the community came and said. So were there any actions taken on your behalf for the security to have, you know, been present? I think those are the things that keep coming into mind for me, is like, you're not there 24/7, you know, you leave right after, you know, you're not in control of what happens in the patio. But as a resident myself, like, I would be concerned if I live there, like, somebody can get hurt, somebody's under the alcohol, you know, under the influence, someone can get hit. I'm for, like, having a good time. I'm happy that people are coming from the outside of Southgate to come in and, you know, and do a business here in Southgate. But that's where I'm torn, if I have to be honest. Yeah.
Yes, we again, like many of you mentioned, it's hard to control what people do after hours. We can't tell people you got to go home right now. It's out of our control. However, we do have security guards out there, and also the patio has helped us with theft, because we have also been subjects of theft many times prior to us having this outdoor patio and gated. People would come in and break our windows and go inside the restaurant. And with this patio, we haven't had that issue. We are constantly looking, and with our security outside, they're looking out to the alley, because a lot of things happen in that alley that have nothing to do with us. There, a lot of times it's you know, people that are just hanging out, and they don't even come into the restaurant because we require IDs and we check. We don't let just anyone walk in. So we are doing something about it. It's just that, you know, at the end of the day, going back to what some of the commissioners have said, it's really hard to control a lot. And I think that some of the concerns of the residents, they're very valid. However, a lot of those people that are out there causing those fires, you know, are the people that live there, that are just bumming in the area, and we can't do anything about that. So, you know, with that said, we do have security guards, and that's a great idea, you know, to maybe shut down and like I stated before, our patio is not intended to stay open till 1 a.m. That is not the idea. That is definitely not the idea. Our idea is to have it open during the day, and then close it up. The inside will, on a Saturday, might stay open till 1, yes, but the outside, definitely no. We don't even have staff outside after like a certain time. We only keep staff inside. So we tell people, you know, it's indoors only. So I just wanted to say, Sergio, did you add anything? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
One final question.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sad, you don't have to sit. I have a quick question for you. Do you have any intention with providing live music outdoors?
No, to be honest, no. I know my brother asked about that when we brought up the permit. If anything, the music is inside. We actually, the only sound, and when we spoke to the noise control company, they asked us the same thing, and we said no. The only sound that's going to come out from the outside is going to be from the TVs when we show certain games. But again, games go up until like 9 p.m. and then they're pretty much over after that. We're not intending to, you know, bring a live group outside and make noise. That's definitely not the idea whatsoever.
Is there a reason why you didn't submit a CUP for the live music indoors?
You know what, Sergio, do you want to touch on that?
The reason would be that when we took over the restaurant already had a CUP, and we were under the understanding that it allowed for music inside. So nobody ever questioned it from the city. Nobody ever said, hey, can I verify your COP. And years went by. We opened in 2013, so now it's been 13 years. And, this is now the time when they're asking us if we do have a CUP. Nobody ever said anything from the city. Same thing, but the residents were saying about calling the cops. We've had to call the police as well because they tell us, don't get involved, let us handle the situation if it's getting out of control. And unfortunately, sometimes, it takes them a long time for them to show up. So, like my sister said, I think one of the things that we believe we're going to have to put in place is a plan for after we shut down our business to make sure that everybody that's outside in the parking lot, tell them, hey, you got to go, or we're going to have to call the police because you're making too much noise. But it's natural for somebody that leaves the restaurant after they close out to hang around in their car, either smoking or listening to music. And it's a little bit risky to go up to them and say, hey, you got to go, because they're going to say, I'm in a public area. You can't control what I can do. You just, close your business, but now I'm in the street and you have no control over that. But maybe we might have to put up some signs that say, hey, no loitering after a certain hour. Otherwise, we're going to call the cops and let them know that you're not allowed in this area. But regarding the live entertainment, nobody ever said anything. And when we went through all the business registration, getting our licenses, and getting that, because Dennis didn't have a alcohol license when we, or the Sizzlers, I'm sorry. When we brought in our own liquor license to the establishment, everything was assumed that the place had a live entertainment permit. So nobody ever questioned that.
Thank you. And I just want to thank everyone for being here. I think we're very appreciative of the community engagement. We thank our audience, our residents that are here with your comments. I do have a question for staff, and maybe, John, you can answer this question. I noticed you mentioned something about code enforcement citation. I'm not familiar with the violations. I did hear you say that there was violations in June and July of 23, nothing in 24. July or January of 25, and then one in March and one in April. Can we just touch a little bit on that? Because I assume that when you have an open application, this kind of falls into the application, and the citations, do they stay? Do they go away once the application is approved, or how does that work?
They're kind of put on hold. Actually, I've had to, because this has been going on for a while, refer it back over to code enforcement, and then code enforcement will reach out to the applicant, and then we would get the project moving again. But they are moving forward right now. So when we are moving forward, code enforcement sort of takes a step back and lets them deal with planning.
So if this project gets approved, what happens to those violations?
Yeah, they're cured.
What were the violations?
There were, I wrote down just that they were citations for certain times, but pretty much for the outdoor patio area, the fencing.
Non-compliance because of COVID, right?
Right.
Another question is maybe for staff as well. Will there be a review period like for compliance going forward if this project gets approved? Or how does that work?
We usually have a condition in there that after 6 months, once they approve and start operating, that we come back and monitor. It's just a staffing amount just to be able to go back out there and to monitor some of these. But because there is an open code enforcement case, code enforcement can always go back out and just double check to make sure they are meeting the requirements.
For me, I like to see our businesses here in Southgate thrive. I'm all about supporting small businesses, and especially when you're investing in our community. My question today was pretty much answered by all of our colleagues here, so I don't have any additional questions. I just had those comments, and I wanted to know more a little bit about the code enforcement. So at this time, if I ask if there's any additional questions or concerns from my colleagues.
I mean, I still do have that concern, like to the accountability part is a big deal for me right now. And time is money. I get that. And I understand. I'm not trying to make our jobs any harder either as fellow commissioners or the staff. But I'm not sure if this is something that is doable, like to go back and check on some of these things before bringing it back here. Or is this something that we have to vote on today? Because I am concerned, what the residents are saying. I also don't, I don't want it to all fall on the owners, of course, that they should be running their business, but it doesn't feel right on my end when, like, I guess I'm trying to figure out to make sure that, especially the fact that some of these codes are going to be gone if we do approve this, like, are we setting a standard for the rest of the businesses to come? I'm just seriously just still a little bit not sure on my end. So I'm not sure what direction, if I'm ready to give a direction to give a vote. That's just being transparent.
Well, the way I understand is when you have a violation like at your home, and that means you have to get the repairs done. You ask for an extension to get the repairs done. Then once that is done and taken care of, then your violations are cured.
That's the
So
way I'm reading it, and especially now that you clarified that their violations would be taken care of or abated once this gets done and approved. I feel confident in moving forward with this, with the exception of item number 16, which was to go back to the old design. So my proposal would be to approve without number 16, and also one of the main reasons I saw was like I mentioned earlier, the aesthetics. I don't see a problem with it. Their staff concern was having the corrugated metal rust, but I feel like there are already laws in place or codes in place that say that if any such rusting occurs, that they would have to paint it. So I don't really see a problem with that. And as a property owner with, metallic objects outside, I think, that you don't want it to get worse. So you automatically paint something that's noticing rust. So I feel confident that that shouldn't be a problem.
Do we have an issue with the color scheme? Is that a problem?
And they have examples on their renderings that you see
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
I think what staff is suggesting is the quality of materials that are being used in the architectural design, not necessarily whether it's the color scheme. At least that's what my understanding was. Is that accurate, John?
I mean, the color scheme, if I could just go to the next slide, if you can. That one. So you do want outdoor patio that matches the building, as much as possible. But the one on the right, we feel is of a higher quality is because the materials used.
I think she mentioned it's going to be the same color. It's just the rendering. I have a question. Did we get a police report or anything from PD?
We reached out to the police department. They didn't have any comments. We've included, I guess, general conditions that we've used in the past.
Thank you.
And for the record, can we get a commitment from the owners that with the security issue after the big events to help clear up some of the? Okay.
So maybe I'll make an amendment to my motion to include something about security, on-site security.
And are we including the hour? There was like an serving alcohol.
I think that's already.
It's already in there.
Yeah, it's already a part of it.
Yeah, thank you. That's kind of where I'm heading towards that part.
Yeah.
If there's no other further discussion, can I entertain a motion?
There was one last comment.
Oh, there
from
is?
the
Okay.
Public that we missed from John's emails. I summarized it. It says it's from Armando Gudino. Southgate property owner supports conditional use permit number 26-06, stating that the proposed covered patio and expanded dining area at Hobson Barley, which strengthens Twitty Boulevard by increasing foot traffic, supporting local jobs, and encouraging continued private investment in the community. He believes the project aligns with the city's planning goals, helps a locally established business remain competitive, and can operate responsibly under appropriate conditions while contributing to Southgate's long-term economic vitality.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll continue with my motion, my proposed motion. So to approve, get rid of condition number 16 and add language surrounding or requiring security or strengthening the security. I mean, if you guys already do it, it sounds like it shouldn't be a problem. But I do appreciate the business that you bring. I think the city, needs to really foster the relationships with the businesses that are here, that are investing in our community, that are being successful. And I personally don't, I do think we should support it. So, yeah.
I'll second that.
Just for clarity, is that, I didn't hear you. Is that with the previous proposal or the current proposal? The
there's two-
enhanced
there's-
or the current?
No, getting rid of condition number 16 would kind of make a stay for the
current?
The gray one.
the gray one. Yeah.
So we have a motion.
The gray part is the security blanket, right, John? Like that usually won't be there. Or is that encircled that way?
Can you just clarify, you're asking for proposed condition 16 to be eliminated from the CUP. What was that proposed condition? Oh, it's right. Oh, it's okay. Sorry.
That they
That stays as is.
no,
No?
Well,
condition
it's-
number 16 asked for them to kind of go back to the previous renderings, the enhanced version.
And you're proposing that condition 16 be stricken from the CUP.
Correct.
Okay. I would just comment that even by striking that, the applicant still needs to present something that conforms to the design standards in the general plan and the Tweedy specific plan and the zoning code. So there would still be guidelines, even if this is stricken and the applicant isn't required to present that exact plan.
Got it.
So does the current proposal meet that criteria?
As the draft resolution is written right now, it's really meant for the previous proposal that you see over there. There's that condition in there that they go with enhanced quality materials.
So that's a no.
I would say we'd probably have to rewrite that resolution to match your motion. So what we could do, if you do make a motion to approve the project, we could work on the resolution and bring it back to you the following meeting for you to consider.
Now that both proposals on view right there, you look at the previous proposal, it had no sound barrier at all. We were, thinking open air, completely open. When we went back and scaled it down, we said we need to implement something to maintain the noise within the patio, and that's when we came up with the current proposal. But the previous one, the first one that was submitted, as you can see, it's completely open. And we then, debated on the fact that because it's so open, some of those people that are just wandering out there in the street would be able to easy access into that patio and stay there overnight. So then we figured, okay, we need to bring up a 6-foot fence, and we need to put in some sound barriers to mitigate the noise. And that's what the current proposal is the one that we submitted.
I've seen, just a quick question. I've seen setups like that, and then they install those the roll up or roll down kind of curtains, similar to what you have on the left, on the right-hand side, and then they secure them overnight so that they're, to your point, like it creates that extra safety
Yeah.
barrier.
Yeah, but at that, when we submitted that one, we didn't
didn't have
even add
that,
that.
yeah.
The current proposal, the one in gray, will have those roll-ups. So as we open business, we're gonna roll them up, open it up, but late at night, they're gonna go down. And if we have a big crowd, making a lot of noise, they're gonna be rolled down so that we can mitigate the noise as well.
Would that open door concept, the open air concept, could that include the blinds?
I'm sure it would, but the reason we decided to move away from that one was the very high cost of building all that. And like I said, we just recently purchased the property, so we had to pay everything there. We didn't get a mortgage. We're not, 30 years going to pay for it. We kind of paid it cash. And so that depleted the availability or the funds that we were allocating for this project.
So we have a motion in place, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I seconded.
And we have a second. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Castañeda,
Yes.
Commissioner Osaeta,
No.
Commissioner Ruiz,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Valenzuela,
Still not sure. Because I'm still confused about this part right here, this thing. We're trying to not get this? Is that what we're saying?
That they don't.
'Cause-
Yeah, that it's not going to be the previous.
Right, that we're saying this one over here.
Yeah.
Can you explain that, John?
So this is what they're proposing. These are renderings from two different places of what they're proposing. They want to have the wrought iron and they want to have the corrugated metal as a roof.
Got it. Okay, so just to reiterate, if my vote, to make sure about I'm coming from the perspective of the security for the residents. That's really where I'm coming from. So that's part of our,
Yeah, that was one of the amendments to add or clarify the security, having security. And what was the other one? Is that it?
And then removing
And
the
removing the
condition.
condition.
then my vote is yes.
Chairperson Prieto,
Yes.
and the motion passes.
Do you still need to bring back the resolution?
The resolution is for approval. I mean, we could clean that up. I guess the question is really the requirement for additional security, because there are conditions in there to address security. There's condition number 9 that talks about the 24-hour video surveillance. There's conditions number 48 and 49 that talk about the management shall be properly trained, and the alarm system, if installed, that it be kept in.
Yeah, I think we were referring to on-site security.
Yeah, so those would be the only ones in regards to, I guess, the
Yeah.
security. If you're asking for like a security guard or something like
Yeah,
that, we can
security
maybe
guard.
draft that condition and bring it back. Yeah, if we can draft that today, we can.
Okay.
Okay, when you were having your discussions, I think you mentioned that it was not going to be every day, 24 hours a day. It was just going to be for unusual events when they had large
the weekend.
crowds. Is that the,
I think it's the weekend when they have the live music, correct? I think it's on Fridays.
well, yeah. Although the live music is subject to another permit, that's going to be before the city council. So I don't know if we can tie it. Well, I guess we could. You could. The condition could be that they provide on-site security during any permitted live music performances. Would that satisfy your concerns?
Yes.
Would that be something that you folks could live with, the applicant could live with? Okay.
Permitted and unpermitted?
Excuse me?
You should it be
No,
permitted?
we can't approve, we can't require them to do anything during a non-permitted musical event because they're not supposed to be having non-permitted. We, we can, we can say when the city council has approved your live music permits, and you put on live music performances under the authority of that permit, we can, under this permit, require you to post, adequate security as needed for crowd control and noise control.
Did you get that, John?
I believe so. I can work with our
Yeah.
attorney and.
Yeah, we'll draft the language tomorrow based on what we've talked about here tonight.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open it for open session items. We don't have any, or do we?
No.
Seeing none, I'll open it up for comments. Any audience comments? Seeing none, I will open it up for.
Oh, we do have one. email.
General comment?
Yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
I stepped out for a minute. We have an email from Mr. Dominguez. Let me see if he's not still on Zoom. Mr. Dominguez is on Zoom and he raised his hand. So I will open up the mic so that he can talk.
Yeah, commissioners, you really fucked up with that last time. Way to lower the bar for our city. My gosh. I mean, this is why our city looks like trash. Jeez Louise. All right, let me read this to you. Why doesn't Southgate City Hall have a director of economic development? I first heard of this position from our city treasurer. He informed me that this is the person that finds and recruits businesses to set up shop in your city. I would like to know if our director of community development intends to make filling this position a top priority. I find it sad and pitiful that our city's business community is in the toilet. How is Southgate City Hall supposed to grow and develop its business community without this key position? Will we never get ahead and our city's revenue will continue to be non-existent so long as this key position is left vacant? During the last city council meeting, much was said about the vacant lot on Treaty Boulevard and Atlantic Avenue. These two streets are a key entry and exit point for our city. Everyone uses this three-way intersection to enter and leave our city. I find it appalling that our city hall can't find any developers to make good use of this prime piece of real estate. We should have a business at this location that is a money-making machine, a business that is also beloved, a business such as Porto's Bakery and Cafe in Downey. Why has our city failed to deliver on giving us a business such as Porto's for this location? What does this say about Southgate that we can't attract a top-tier business for this location? For all this time to have passed and still our city can't find any takers for this location, to me, this is a disgrace. I'd like to know if our Director of Community Development intends to make developing this location a top priority project. Does Mr. Perez have any plans for pursuing or attracting some kind of development for this location? Also, can the city make the owner do something about cutting the grass on the location so that it isn't so overgrown? My hope is that we get a business at this location that we all fall in love with. God help our poor, broke ass city. I'll end with that.
Thank you.
He
have
was the
anyone
only
else?
one on Zoom and we didn't have any other emails.
Thank you. I'll open up to city staff comments.
Thank you. The only thing we have to report is that I want to mention that the city council will be having a study session next week on July 28th, starting at 5:00. So it's it's earlier than the regular scheduled meeting. It'll start at 5:00. And this study session will be on updating the zoning code. It's an item that you've seen before previously. Our director Perez had brought that up to the planning commission. We talked about updating our code. And so now we're bringing this before the city council for them to consider. So you are invited to that meeting. It is a public meeting held next Tuesday, July 28th at 5 p.m.
Thank you. Is that it?
That's all.
Thank you. I'll open it up to my colleagues. Any questions, comments?
Is there an update on the Amazon development out there? Did we, has that been kind of addressed already, or is that still pending?
Commissioner, yeah, same update as last week. You know, I think we communicated with them and, you know, they're looking at potentially modifying their original proposal. But we're going to wait another week until their main representative is back from a vacation. So that's where it's at. Same update.
Thank you, Gabriel. And, you know, thanks staff for your support and for the study sessions. I think that's really informative. And as I always mention, like, this is your world. We're just visiting. So it's greatly appreciated when you provide some additional information so that we can be as informed as possible to make decisions. So thank you all. Appreciate you all.
Really quick, just in lieu of the first earlier item we spoke about, I think it would be good to get updates when the city has been successful in getting federal grants to start cleaning up properties. I know that we already had a presentation on brownfields and cleanups, but I think it would be good to keep staying updated on that because I don't think staff get enough credit for the work they're moving the city forward. And it definitely helps bring recognition into the efforts.
Commissioners, any questions? I don't have anything else to add either. I just want to thank everyone who is still here. Thank you for being here with us this late, people on Zoom, and thank you for the emails. Aside from that, I'll go ahead and adjourn our meeting at 10:01.